learn from the past mistakes and then really go in early stage. And it's great for the managers as well. I think for Frank, fantastic.
We understand Gibbs White will complete his medical later. Former Forest striker Gary Birtles isn't too pleased with him, or Anthony Elanga, who just completed his move to Newcastle.
Those two were unbelievable for us last season, and I just hope they're thankful for what the football club and Nuno has done for them, because when Elanga came, there were doubts about, his credibility. We all knew he was a great player. And he's turned his career around at Forest, and you've got to praise Forest for doing that. And the same with Morgan Gibbs-White.
Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson to Brentford. That's what we're hearing. He's a free agent at the moment after leaving Ajax and is expected to complete his medical later. It's as Spurs and Forest compete for Brentford's Johan Wissa, who wants to leave this summer. It's thought the forward wants to reunite with his old boss, Thomas Frank. And it looks like Noni Madueke is moving from SWC to N7. Arsenal have agreed to sign the Chelsea winger for $52 million. We expect it to be a 5-year deal. For all the latest transfer news, head to talkSPORT.com. At SW19, it's the men's singles semi-final day. Carlos Alcaraz and Taylor Fritz are in the first game on centre court, followed by Yannick Sinner versus Novak Djokovic. And will Ben Stokes last the day? That's the question England fans have as they head into day 2 of the third test against India at Lord's. talkSPORT will bring you ball-by-ball updates throughout the day.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Alex Crook, and former Crystal Palace and Newcastle manager Alan Pardew, and we're live on talkSPORT. So Jordan Henderson set to make his Premier League return by signing for Brentford. Changes in the dugout and changes to the playing staff. Are Brentford in trouble next season, or should Matthew Benham be trusted to do what he does? Meantime, Mohamed Kudus for £55 million and Morgan Gibbs-White for $60 million to follow. Despite negative perceptions from some, is Daniel Levy showing he is indeed a man of huge ambition. Also today, we'll react to yesterday's explosive interview with outgoing Palace co-owner John Textor. We'll look ahead to Sunday's Club World Cup final and ask if Leicester have alighted upon their next Enzo Maresca. Jim White, Alex Crook, Alan Pardew, we're all live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Now, Alex Crook, the man to your left, Mr. Alan Pardew, is a generous soul. I broadcast from this very studio with Simon Jordan day in, day out, and he brings me nothing. Look at what Alan's brought in. Crispy clouds, caramel and milk chocolate. And over here we have jelly babies. And we're waiting for our first cup of tea. We've landed with this man, Pardew, have we not?
It is a test of me trying to fast until midday, I've got to say, when you plug them in front of me. And I think I'd rather you bought a fan. How hot is it in here? It's like a sauna.
Oh, it's
ridiculous. I don't know what Brazil and Parlour would do with the temperature in here.
Well, Brazil must be down to about 25 stone after being in here with that heat. Unbelievable. Alan Pardew, you're looking well. You're looking summery.
Well, it's been a lovely summer so far, hasn't it? We had 2 heat waves already.
Yeah.
And we're not even into, August yet, so...
Yeah. And it's headquarters, London, when you get weather like this. Wimbledon today.
Lovely.
The Test cricket. I mean, this is where it's at, right?
Yeah, I went to Wimbledon last Tuesday, I think it was, and the atmosphere. Sometimes you don't appreciate what a great event Wimbledon is.
Yeah.
Socially, let alone the tennis.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
The whole package that they
Tell
put
me
together.
about your Wimbledon connection.
Well, I've got a lot of Wimbledon connections. I was born on a council estate, literally 100 yards from Centre Court. So it was a natural home for us. We all worked there, all my family. I worked there as a porter. My mother worked there. My sister worked there.
Really? You were a porter?
Yeah.
What did that entail?
Well, when you're 16 at school, it come into a lot of money. I think it was like 120 quid or something, which was like a fortune.
Excellent.
And you used to just ferry in the drinks to the bars and, get the rubbish out, etc., etc. But it was, my first sort of insight into professional sport in a kind of weird way.
Love it. Wimbledon ongoing. We'll bring you an update or two, and we'll look ahead to what's going down at Wimbledon later with my old chum at Sky, great broadcaster Marcus Buckland. You've been away, Alex, and you're going away again, but we have the benefit of your company today and next week, and that's good news because there's a lot going on.
There is actually, yeah. I mean, I think I picked a perfect time to go away. I was still, speaking to agents and various club officials from a sunbed in Spain, but the transfer window did slow up a bit, but it's certainly cranked up this week. I mean, you mentioned some of the headline moves there. Big money being paid by Arsenal for Noni Madueke. Nottingham Forest being a bit pillaged at this moment in time, with Anthony Elanga now signing the dotted line at Newcastle and Morgan Gibbs-White heading to Tottenham for a medical. Tottenham, as you've said, have been busy with Kudus coming in as well. So
yeah.
I think it's shaping up for a really exciting end to the window.
Well, Alan, let's jump in there regards who's moving and why they're moving. Jordan Henderson, we've found out in the last half hour or so, set to make his Premier League return by signing for Brentford. He won his 84th cap in the World Cup qualifier against Andorra last month. He's 35. He left Ajax this week after deciding not to take up the option of another year with the Dutch club. I mean, what are Brentford getting if indeed they get him?
Well, firstly, I think that's an inspired move because, you look at Brentford, they look at the numbers and obviously with the betting regime behind them in terms of the knowledge, they know that the performances Henderson's put in at Ajax have been of the level. Okay, they wouldn't take him otherwise. But the added bonus, of course, is the leadership that he brings to a young group of players. They've always got players coming through. They're always signing young players normally. So, with Norgard going on to the Arsenal, it seems like a perfect replacement to me.
Really? See, I'm with Alan and that. Are you, Alex?
Yeah, I think so.
There was a mixed reaction in the office when this came through, and I thought, are you kidding? Well, Henderson, that's great for Brentford.
It's not a very Brentford-like signing. I would say that they normally look for players of the younger profile, but I think Alan's hit the nail on the head. They've lost their captain, Christian Norgard, who was such a big influence in the dressing room. They're probably going to lose Brian Mbeumo, who you forget's been there a long time, part of the furniture really at Brentford. Obviously, they've lost Thomas Frank, who was there as manager for 7 years. So I just think Henderson is the sort of calm head that can come in and be a real positive influence in the dressing room. And for his perspective, I think the main motivating factor to getting back in the Premier League is he's seen this carrot dangled now by Thomas Tuchel in that he's been involved in the first couple of England squads under the new manager. And I think he feels that if he's playing week in, week out in the Premier League and playing to a good level, that will cement his seat on the plane for next summer.
And we all know that the reason Thomas brought him back to the England fold was purely, let's be honest, about the leadership that he brought to the group. He was a steady hand to kind of go to all the other lads, like, listen, you need to focus here, you need to do the right things. He definitely is one of the few players that has that control over the group. You see captains at other clubs, but they don't usually play that importance. But he definitely has an importance, and I think he'll bring that to Brentford. And also, you have to, if I was his agent, the one thing I would say about him is that it's a great club to sort of end your career at, because they're a kind of club that want to progress staff. They're obviously appointed from within. Yeah. Henderson now goes there as a player. You could see maybe in that contract there might even be a coaching role in a couple of years' time. Maybe, who knows, or a promise of it. So I think that makes a lot of good sense, and he definitely looks the type to me to go into management coaching.
What do you think the incentive is, Alan, for Henderson? I know only he can tell us that, but is it to show that he can do it again for a club in the Premier League, or is it to show that, I'm worth a spot on that flight to America next summer.
Yeah, well,
with England.
I think that's very much, he knows that's his last swan song with England if he can get on that plane. So, a year in the Premier League, playing every week, showing that he still has the same attributes that, let's be honest, when he was at Ajax, we're not seeing too much of him, and then when he was in Saudi Arabia, we're not getting to view him.
No, it's
so
right.
It was a shock when he was into the England team for most fans. So now there is no hiding place. He has to deliver, and he obviously feels confident enough to deliver, to come to Brentford and say, well, I'm going to show you that I can get on that plane.
Yeah, I think if you're a Brentford fan, you're waking up to this news this morning.
Brilliant news.
Good news.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
News. We've lost Thomas Frank. We're losing Mbuemo. We've lost Norgard. But they brought in Henderson.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's needed, someone in there, as I say, just to calm it all down and maybe to be the eyes and ears for Keith Andrews, who, let's be honest, has taken on a massive challenge.
Also for Keith Andrews, it's a great signing, because he's going to bring so much experience. He's only a young manager. He can lean on Henderson and sort of say, right, what do you think? I'm thinking about this decision.
Incidentally, what was your take when you heard about Andrews getting it?
Well, I think, appointing from within, I was surprised, if I'm honest, because I thought Brentford would, go and get a manager from Poland or somewhere, some kind of obscure country that he's at, his record was off the charts or whatever, because they obviously do work on the numbers, but they've obviously seen enough in-house. And maybe, Thomas on his departure sort of said he definitely deserves a chance.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a great opportunity for him, absolutely excellent. He's not short of his opinion, I'm told. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes on. But I remember when I first went to Newcastle, and I had a lot of, I managed Teddy Sheringham. I'd been at West Ham. I had lots of experienced players that I've worked with. But Kevin Nolan was a captain on another level, and I used to lean on him at Newcastle for certain things I would do. And I think for him there, that's Henderson going in would be brilliant for the manager.
Yeah, the timing is interesting as well, because it's coming up to the anniversary of that move that he made to Saudi Arabia. Got a lot of criticism for that at the time. I wonder if he had his time again, because it didn't work out well for him over there, did it? And he's sort of been a bit of a nomad ever since.
About working well. I think his bank balance worked well.
Well, yeah, but you wonder how much of that he got, because obviously the rules are you have to be in the country for a certain period of time.
Well, only the tax part of it.
Yeah. But so you think he would still make that move again?
Possibly. I mean, the Saudi Arabian, when I talk to coaches and players who have done that move, you're 4 or 5 times your value. It's significant. Yeah. And when you get to the end of your career, you start thinking about the rest of your life. Let's be honest, we're all living 40, 50 years after a pro career now. So you got to, still have one eye on that.
Yeah. Incidentally, you ever had a tickle from the Saudis?
No, but I am available.
At a cut price? Yeah. Not at all. Interestingly, 1 or 2 Brentford fans getting in touch saying if it wasn't to work out, Alan, with Keith Andrews, you've always got Jordan Henderson, experienced player / player coach, in the background. Well, that's a bit unfair on Keith Andrews.
Yeah, I think that's very unfair. And I also think that that's not the view. I think this is genuinely for Keith Andrews to lean on his experience, and also for the squad to lean on his experience. There'll be times in that dressing room where I would expect Henderson to get up at half time and without any kind of introduction from the manager, and as a manager you love that, to say his bit. Yeah. To say this ain't good enough, or whatever his point is.
Sure.
So, that's the power he will bring.
Yeah. I just had a message, actually. Jordan Henderson couldn't come back to the Premier League until July the 1st because of the Saudi tax rules. That's why he
there you go. You see? There you go.
I'm interested to put it out there to Brentford fans. I've got a soft spot for Brentford. Still own a little place just off the high street because I used to work in that area, of course, with Sky and embarrass myself regularly in a pub called the Magpie and Crown. But that's another story. What do we think of Jordan Henderson going to Brentford, as now seems more than likely? Brentford fans, the Bees, are you buzzing about that? Give me a call about Jordan Henderson heading to your club. And of course, now you've no Thomas Frank, but you've got Keith Andrews. Is this a significant signing in your eyes? And are you having Jordan Henderson in a Brentford shirt? 03717 223344 810 89 on this very warm morning here in London. Jim White, Alex Crook and Alan Pardew live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Jim White, Alex Crook and Alan Pardew were live in talkSPORT. Jordan Henderson heading to Brentford. There's a nice one from Mark. Hello, Mr. White. I like that, Mr. White. Your colleague Natalie Sawyer will be pleased about Henderson. He's a good player. And they've got themselves a decent signing. Of course, Natalie being a big Brentford fan. Not everybody agrees on that. Look at that. There's a Brentford fan doesn't put his name in it. Guys, Henderson will get Brentford relegated. Well, that's nice. This is nothing more than a sentimental signing. How is that a sentimental signing? What's that meant to mean?
Yeah, I don't really get that, to be honest.
No.
He's got no attachment to the club, no attachment to Keith Andrews, unless I'm mistaken. So I think it is what Alan has said. It's just about trying to get some experience in the dressing room. And clearly, they would have looked at his data at Ajax, where I think he did okay, in fairness, after coming over from Saudi Arabia, and thought he could still do a job in the Premier League. Clearly, Thomas Tuchel still thinks that as well.
Yeah. Alan, just last month, Daniel Levy, Tottenham chairman, was speaking to the club channel. And, of course, this after Ange Postecoglou stage left, and in came Thomas Frank. And Daniel Levy made it clear about what the long-term target actually was. This was Levy.
We've won a European trophy. It's not enough. It's what we haven't done that is more important. We need to win the league. We want to win the Premier League. We want to win the Champions League. But, we want to win.
We want to win it all. Now, I'm sure he does. Before we get into Kudus joining, and now Morgan Gibbs-White heading there too, what's Thomas Frank going to do for them, Alan? I know you'll have been asked this, but I'm asking you now this morning. You know these guys. You know what they're capable of. Is this a good fit?
Yeah, I think it is a good fit because, he's done his apprenticeship at Brentford in terms of having all the credentials to manage a big club. He's had success. He's brought, he's made players who were average, better. He's made good players even better players. So he's ticked a lot of boxes. I think his PR, his work with the media is outstanding. I don't hear one person in the media say they had a problem with him, or he loses his temper, or he's angry with some sort of question or something that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
So, he's proved all the credentials of what you need to go and manage a team as big as Tottenham Hotspur. Now, the one thing I would question if I was him is what is the ambition of the football club? Because last year, and obviously I do a Sunday night show with Majestic, who's a Spurs fan, and I said that transfer window last year did not strike me as a team who want to win the Premier League. 88 starts for that football club. And if you had asked me when they arrived, would they make 100 appearances, I would say probably that would be it, because I couldn't see how they were going to take the team anywhere. They were players for the future. They're players that may become really something substantial in the next 2 or 3 years. Thomas ain't got that time. And it worked out that Ange didn't have that time either.
Right.
So, Thomas Frank, I'm pretty sure when he went in to see Daniel Levy, said, who are we signing, right? Because I don't want to sign another 5 or 6 potentials. I need proper players.
So should we read this morning that Thomas Frank is getting his way, even this early?
I think
Mohamed Kudus for 55, Gibbs White for 60.
I would say that there's a definite 35 to 50% chance that Thomas Frank has said, I want some proper players in here. If
35
you want me to
50%. Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Alex, when you look at this? Does this show to Tottenham fans this morning that Levy is indeed a man of ambition? That's 15 million?
Yeah, and obviously what he's doing here that he didn't do when they reached the Champions League final is he's capitalising on that success, and he's trying to build from a position of strength. Having just won that Europa League title, guaranteed Champions League football for next season. I don't think Mohamed Kudus would have gone there were they not in the Champions League, and probably the same for Morgan
Not sure about that, by the way. Not sure about that, because I think he would have gone anyway. I mean, his performances at West Ham at the end of the season were a joke. It was obvious that he was going somewhere.
But would he have gone to Tottenham without Champions League football?
I don't know who else was in. I would suggest that transfer.
In what way a joke?
Say that again.
In what way a joke?
What, his performances? Yeah, but they weren't good enough. He was like ripping it up for West Ham. He was like the player to go to, i.e. in the offensive positions.
I see.
And then suddenly his performances dropped off the scale. And I think it was fairly obvious to West Ham fans he was going somewhere.
Yeah.
And
that was partly because of the Lopetegui effect as well. He wasn't the only one who wasn't particularly happy playing under Lopetegui.
Okay, well, there might have been some influence in terms of the feeling in the dressing room. But, I still believe that transfer has been well kind of mapped out, let's put it that way, for some while. And the Champions League football, I think, is irrelevant. Going across the road to Tottenham Hotspur would still, in his mind, be a step up, and probably a contract step up. And that's one of the things you have to realise when you're a manager at West Ham, which I have been, is that the salaries at the bigger clubs can turn a player's head. Forget about ambition and everything else.
Yeah.
That is usually 80% of what's going on.
Alan, if you're Thomas Frank this morning, are you thrilled you've got Kudus through the door? Are you thrilled you're about to get Gibbs White through the door?
Definitely. I'm a really big fan of Gibbs White, by the way. But
60 million.
But but I think, what is he, 20, 21? I can't remember his age.
A little bit older than that.
He's a little bit older. 23. He was in the 21s last year. I know he was.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about a player that had an exceptional season, and I think his character warrants that kind of fee. The thing about Kudus, the one thing I thought with Tottenham last year, they didn't have a wide player who could stretch the pitch, who could go beyond with real pace and stretch teams, and on the counter-attack, really kind of take the team up the pitch quickly. When I was at Crystal Palace, we had Zaha. He would take us within 3-4 seconds right up the pitch and make the pitch so much bigger, and opportunities would arise from that. So I think he's a player that squad needs.
I was at the game at Arsenal, probably the best performance under Graham Potter, when West Ham won there 1-0, and he basically put everybody bar Bowen and Kudus behind the ball, and they did exactly what Alan is alluding to there. They used the pace of Kudus to get them up the pitch. I seem to remember he played a part in the goal that Bowen scored. So he's definitely got ability. I agree with Alan about his temperament. I think that's something that Thomas Frank is going to have to work on. No such concerns with Gibbs White. And you talk about leadership at Brentford with Jordan Henderson. For me, Tottenham lacked a bit of leadership on the pitch at times last season. And even though he's a young player, I think Gibbs White brings that. He backs himself. You remember he sort of forced his way out of Wolverhampton Wanderers because he felt a little bit mistreated. They kept loaning him out. They weren't really giving him the opportunity in the first team. So he goes to Forest for big money, justifies the fee, which a lot of people raised eyebrows at the time. He's worn the captain's armband. I think he could prove to be a really good signing for Spurs. But in terms of where the money is coming from, this is interesting because myself and Ben Jacobs are working on a story at the moment. Actually, there's a lot of outside investment coming in to Tottenham from the Middle East, be it Saudi, be it Qatar. We're trying to establish from exactly where. So I don't think this is necessarily Daniel Levy opening the checkbook. But
does that matter?
Outside investment coming into ENIC. No, I just think it adds an interesting little dynamic to the narrative.
I mean, he's spending the money.
Well, you also, in terms of what he's created, Daniel Levy there, he has created an opportunity for this money to arrive in terms of the stadium and what he's built. And so he gets a lot of criticism. And quite rightly so. Even I'm criticising his transfer window last time. But, let's say that on a financial footing, they are sound. And they're in a position now to move.
Yeah.
So, they're moving the right way. Just going back to Gibbs White, I also think...
He's 25.
Yeah, and I also think this about him. When he does social media, which is a big part of the game now, you want the right message out there. I think social media is actually quite good. It's like the new breed of footballer. You have to understand they're kind of got their own entity. But I think his entity is a nice entity, a good entity, good energy entity to the club. The one worry I would have if I was at Spurs at the moment is Maddison. I would be, if I was him, I would definitely be shining my boots and getting ready for a tough pre-season because he needs to start.
He's injured, that's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's my point is, forget about whether he's injured or anything. He's now under massive threat, isn't he, with the arrival of Gibbs White?
Yeah,
good point. Let's put it out there. Tottenham fans listening this morning, when you look at it, please look at it. Mohamed Kudus for 55 million. Morgan Gibbs White on the brink of joining for 60 million. 115 million quid the two. Are you somewhat rowing back on your assertion that Daniel Levy lacks ambition? I know it's only two signings, but it's two significant signings. Significant money. So are you prepared to roll back, or where are you at now with what Levy is doing? Give us a call on that, 03717 223344. And just while I'm at it, Forest fans listening this morning, Ilanga's gone to Newcastle, and now Gibbs White is heading to North London. What's your take on that? You're losing two key players. Give us your thought. What do you want Marinakis to do now? 03717 223344, 8:10:89 at 10:30.
Spurs are cooking up a storm this transfer window. After bagging West Ham winger Mohamed Kudus for £55 million, Tottenham have now managed to grab Morgan Gibbs-White after triggering his £60 million release clause. Former Spurs defender Raymond Vega reckons they could be setting themselves up for a good season.
The bigger mistake and the core mistake within Spurs within the last 4 to 5 years, what kind of player, what kind of transfer, and how early you can go into it. And I think now, I can see now, they learn from the past mistakes and they're really going in early stage. And it's great for the managers as well. I think for Frank, fantastic.
We understand Gibbs-White will complete his medical later. Former Forest striker Gary Birtles isn't too pleased with him, or Anthony Elanga, who just completed his move to Newcastle.
Those two were unbelievable for us last season, and I just hope they're thankful for what the football club and Nuno has done for them.
Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson to Brentford. That's what we're hearing. He's a free agent at the moment after leaving Ajax and is expected to complete his medical later. And it looks like Noni Madueke is moving from SW6 to N7. Arsenal have agreed to sign the Chelsea winger for £52 million. And will Ben Stokes last the day? That's the question England fans have as they head into day 2 of the third test against India at Lord's. talkSPORT will bring you ball-by-ball updates throughout the day.
The Scottish Open at North Berwick. I'm just about in tears here. That's where I used to go for my holidays when I was a small child. North Berwick, east of Edinburgh, East Lothian. Alan Pardew and Alex Crook are looking at me this morning thinking, what the heck's he going on about? But if you ever get the chance to go to North Berwick, you drive through little sleepy villages like Long Nidri and Aberlady, beautiful part of the world, and then you land in North Berwick.
Did you know, back in that day, did you still fry the Mars bars? Was that a thing then?
A Scottish delicacy, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Oh, yeah. Great part of the world. East Lothian, the Bass Rock. Oh, you've got me started now, Alan. And the deep fried Mars bars. We're talking about Tottenham this morning, and Alex has done some digging and is finding out about how some of these deals are being done, how they're being financed. But Daniel Levy and Tottenham are busy. Of that, there is no doubt. Mohamed Kudus signed for £55 million from West Ham United, and now Morgan Gibbs-White set to follow for £60 million. It's a lot of money for these two, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, but that seems to be the going rate this summer, doesn't it? 62.5 for Cunha. Brentford want more than 60 from Mbumo. Elanga's going for 55 plus add-ons. So
yeah,
you don't get much change out of £60 million these days. But it is worth stressing, Alan's been crunching the numbers, that the two players combined still don't equate to what Liverpool has spent on Florian Wirtz, and of course they're the champions. And Tottenham still haven't paid more than £65 million for a player. Dominic Solanke remains their record signing. If they're going to win the league and the Champions League, as Daniel Levy proclaims, I think probably they're going to have to smash that at some point.
Well, I was going to say, before we go to the calls, and there are many calls coming in from Tottenham fans, thank you for that, 03717 223344. Alan, if you're Thomas Frank, are you making a quick phone call to Levy this morning saying, thanks for those two? That's great. This is a great start.
Good start. That was where I'd leave it, yeah.
Kishan is a big Spurs fan with a wonderful name. Kishan, got into the last break. I was saying, do you think Tottenham fans should roll back a bit on some of their earlier criticism of Daniel Levy, that he doesn't spend enough? What do you make of this? 55 million and 60 million, and they're two decent players. Good morning, Kishan. What do you think?
Good morning, guys. Great show as always. Look, I've been a Tottenham fan for over 30 years, and this is the first time I've had some kind of confidence in the direction of the team. And although it pains me to say it, you've got to give credit when credit's due to Daniel Levy. I think when we won the Europa League final, after then with the manager getting sacked and the inactivity when teams around us were making big movements, I think that was a worry. It was like, here we go again.
Yes.
However, the movements that he's made in the last 48 hours just shows that we are now moving forward, and it wasn't just, you know, a quick reaction out of the fact that the manager getting sacked and everything else on top. One of the things I do want to mention, though, is I know Simon Jordan mentions that, you know, David Pleat was on the show a year or so ago and said that Pochettino didn't want to sign any players. He was there. But if you remember, after 18 months of inactivity, the first signing that we made was Lucas Moura, who, again, you'd say is a squad player. So what I'm trying to say is this is the first time I can remember in recollection that we've signed not only quality players, but players that can go straight into the starting lineup. Last season, we signed the likes of Solanke, Archie Gray, Wilson Odobert and Bergvall. And if you look at those four players, there's only really Solanke that you'd say out of those four that were guaranteed starters. Yes, Bergvall, Archie Gray was very, very useful for us. But if you looked at those segmented at the start of the season, you'd say only one.
Yes.
Whereas this is the first time I can remember where the likes of Kudos and Morgan Gibbs-White, that they are almost guaranteed starters.
They can go straight in. That's a good point, Kishan. Alan, you made that point earlier about what they did last season.
Yeah, and I think you know, when you look to win trophies, or when you looking to get into Europe, you certainly need the first starting 11 to take a significant step. If you've gone nowhere near it, which Tottenham did come nowhere near winning the league, right? So you've got to take significant steps with the starting 11, not the squad. Forget the squad. The starting 11 has to take significant steps, and then the rest of it has to kind of try and catch up, i.e. the squad.
Yeah.
And I think these two moves, quite rightly, as Kishan has mentioned, are starters.
Yes. Kate, good morning. Big Tottenham fan. What do you think of this, Kate, thus far? Two big signings for 115 million.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Alan. Good morning, Alex. Last time I spoke to Alex, he was taking the mickey out of Spurs, saying they've never made any impact on the football landscape. And there we go and win Europa League. So the saltiness.
Go on, Kate.
But what I will say is, look, we all criticise Daniel Levy, me included, but he's making moves that we've been crying out for. He's bringing in two players that are Premier League proven, both walk straight into our first team, both make us better. We've got competition for places all of a sudden. I agree with what Alan said. It's a great start. And look, Levy wants to win the league. He wants to win the Champions League. Of course he does. Every chairman wants to win those. But we've got to understand it's not going to happen overnight. But this is a fantastic start to the window. I'm absolutely delighted. I think Kudos is a real Spurs-type player. He's got the flair. He's going to get us out of our seats. And then you've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who's a real leader, who's going to walk into the team, grab them by the scruff of the neck and really sort of sort them out. So I'm absolutely delighted.
Loving that.
Can I ask you a question? Right. So you're saying you make your steps going forward. What about the managerial situation? How was you with Ange going after winning the cup and now Thomas coming in? Where do you stand with that?
Look, it was difficult because you kind of feel like this guy's done something that hasn't been achieved for years. But the bread and butter of any football club is the Premier League. And when you're losing 22 games, it just simply isn't good enough. So I'm absolutely over the moon with Thomas Frank. I think he's a real coach. I think he played 9 formations with Brentford last season. So you never know what you're going to get. And I think this is a really good and exciting up-and-coming season for Spurs. I'm so excited already.
I think Kate could get her own show. 9 different formations. I'm liking I'm loving this, Kate.
I never had that stat.
Good for you, Kate. Here's John, another big Tottenham fan. I mean, I'm detecting a change in Spurs fans' perception of the approach of Daniel Levy this morning, John. What do you think?
Yeah, well, good morning to you, gentlemen. I'm quite surprised that his short arms have got longer and gone into his deep pockets. I'm a little bit surprised by the Mohamed Kudus appointment, to be honest. I really thought that we would get, we would go after Everichi Eze, but obviously that hasn't matured. But I think it is a step in the right direction. It's what, like that last caller, she said, it's what we've been crying out for.
Yes.
We need a couple of marquee signings. I mean, looking at Gibbs-White coming to the club is like, Aaron Lennon, when he came from Burnley, he's got that speed, he's got the ball sticks to his feet.
Yeah.
He can dribble, he can go and, that's what you want, and I think there's going to be such a great buzz around the lane. I like to call it the lane, not Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but there's going to be such a great buzz around the lane with everyone thinking that, Van der Ven and Gibbs White, Kudus, and also we're forgetting about these other guys that we've brought in who went on loan last year. The Korean guy, whose name totally escapes me at the moment.
But you've got you're getting a decent squad assembled, which is what you want at this stage, John. I get it.
Yeah,
but here's the thing, John.
Japanese defender.
Say again?
And the Japanese defender we've just signed.
Right, okay. The thing is, Tottenham's gain here, especially with Morgan Gibbs-White, is Forest's loss, if you like, with Forest also losing out, if they are losing out. You're not happy. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Jim. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm literally at work and I've just come outside of the office because I'm absolutely fuming.
Go on.
The way that I'm just fuming at the way that the Morgan Gibbs-White situation's been handled. I think him and his agent, if what I'm hearing is true, they've been very sneaky in how they've gone about doing this. They've left Forest absolutely blindsided. We had no indication that he wanted to go. He was sort of saying that he wanted to stay, he wanted to be a leader, carry on with us through Europe next season. And then all of a sudden, within the blink of an eye, he's joining Tottenham. I mean, I don't really understand why.
Well, I mean, Samia, my understanding is, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, that they activated the release clause.
He obviously was in there,
They triggered it.
But it is so irritating. Obviously, I had that myself at Newcastle, West Ham, when players, come out and say, rubber stamp their kind of time at the football club. It's brilliant. I'm loving it. I want to lead the team to success, and then in the summer they move somewhere else. But let's be honest, that
part of the game, Alan. It
is part of the game.
From what I'm being told,
from fans, it is irritating.
From what I'm being told this morning, your pal Marinakis is not particularly enamoured with his former recruitment team. They signed a player for £42.5 million and agreed on a £60 million release clause.
That doesn't add up, does it? No, it doesn't.
Really. Samia, what do you think? Will you be looking for Forest to do some? Turn it around.
It's quite frustrating. I mean, we've always been told that we wouldn't accept no more than between 70 and 100 million pounds for him, and he's going for 60 million pounds. It's at the end of the day, we should have got a lot more for him. So that's another thing, and I'm quite sort of surprised. We've got like a really ambitious owner. And I know that, if the release clause was triggered, maybe it was out of Forest's hand and the recruitment team's hand. But I can understand the Elabra one. I'm not really happy with that either. But I do understand, the 55 million. I understand that. But I just think the way it's been handled and the way he's gone about doing it, I understand why Wolves fans don't really like him now, I think. So, sorry, I'm just absolutely fuming at the fact that, this has happened. And
Samia, you were telling us you sneaked out of work to call us, did you?
I just sneaked out of the office, yeah.
To sneak back in and just say you were in a loo break or something. Listen, thank you very much indeed. But Forest fans are bound to be upset this morning, Alex. Yeah. They want some incomings. They'll get some now.
Well, they've got some already. I know that they're quite excited about Igor Jesus, the striker they've signed from Botafogo, and we know that Marinakis is ambitious, so he will reinvest the money, I'm sure, but they're two big players, two of their most important attacking players from last season. Their form tailed off a bit towards the end anyway. I think personally that was because other managers, other coaches worked out how to play against Forest.
Yeah.
I can see them certainly in the bottom half of the table, maybe looking a little bit anxiously over their shoulders next season.
Okay. Remember the time, 10:45. Remember the date, Friday, July the 11th, when some of the Tottenham fans were saying, Daniel Levy, good job. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
He plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Friday morning, Jim White, Alex Crook, Alan Pardew. We're live in talkSPORT. As always, we're streaming live on YouTube and your smart TV. You can watch us, you lucky people, as well as listen to us. For all the information on how to watch the show, just head to talksport.com/watch. John Textor, the man who every Crystal Palace fan is talking about at the moment, was in this very studio yesterday morning, having arrived here to join Simon and myself live on the show. Gave us 90 minutes of his time on live radio and then disappeared and headed back to Paris, is my understanding. A lot going on at the moment as to what European tournament Crystal Palace FA Cup winners will end up playing in. Will it be the Europa League? Will it be the Europa Conference League? We're going to get to that at 11 o'clock and get former Palace man Mr. Alan Pardew's take on what was said. And many things were said, Alex, in that time that Textor was in the studio yesterday.
Fantastic.
And I think you were glued to it.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't care, did he? You know, he gave his opinion, like him or not, at the end of that interview. He is who he is and didn't duck a question, in fairness, either. So, yeah, I thought it was brilliant radio.
In the meantime, we focus our attention on Sunday, 8 o'clock kickoff over in the States. Chelsea against Paris Saint-Germain, the Club World Cup final. It's live in talkSPORT. Alan, as I said, in studio with us. Where are you at with this tournament, Alan, and everything that's gone with it and everything that's been said about it?
Well, firstly, I'm irritated by it because obviously
irritated.
Well, it was a window. The problem we got in football is that you got national leagues like the Premier League, powerful league. Then you got UEFA, but they're not kind of connected, and nor is FIFA connected to UEFA. So where there's a window, FIFA go, oh, let's grab that window and let's make a huge amount of money out of that. And then when FIFA have a window, UEFA try to grab that window. So what you've now got is almost a 12-month cycle of football, of a top-class football. And why I'm frustrated about that is not so much the quality of the competition, because I think it's been great, actually, in certain other ways. But someone like Palmer, who's going to have to play in the final tomorrow, he'll get a week's holiday, maybe 2 weeks, then back to the Premier League, a whole campaign, European football, etc., etc., and then we're asking him to turn up for England and produce his best football in a World Cup at the end of next season. So it's the biggest thing in football that we learn is rest and recovery. It's probably been the biggest advance in football in terms of trying to get our players at their peak for each game that's arriving. But the problem you got is coaches and managers, you just can't get no work done. You can't. All you can do is go on the boards and try and have classrooms and talk through things rather than replicating it on the football pitch. So it's very frustrating on that side. I will add this, though, about the World Club Championship. I think it will grow. I think it's been a success.
Yeah.
I think the money is substantial, which Chelsea look like could, if they win it, which is a tough call, will be 100 million. Is it, Crookie, roughly?
Yeah.
You know, so what you've now got is this new influx of money, another advantage for the bigger clubs, where clubs like Palace and Nottingham Forest, who we're talking about, very difficult to bridge when clubs are bringing in this kind of revenue. And likewise, we have a final that I think the tournament will grow from, because I think this is an intriguing game.
You see, I mean, the counter argument, Alex, as you know, to what Alan's saying is these guys, it's a short career, they earn small fortunes, get on with it. You know that, Alan. That's what people are going to throw back.
You know, a boxer.
That's what they throw back at Martin Keown every time he talks about player welfare.
I hear Simon talking about it. You know, he defends that the owners should have the players available all the time. But if you ask a boxer to fight every week, right? Every week, go and fight every week. Do you think he could do that? Could he?
Of course not.
No, right? So they need 3 months, 6 months break, we would say, something like that.
But Souness will tell you he played 60-plus games in a season on ridiculously indifferent pitches in all weather, and would be an automatic starter every time.
Yeah, but in over a 12-month period, he wouldn't. He would have at least 6 weeks off, guaranteed, probably. Most seasons, even lived there in World Cup seasons, which he didn't actually play in many because he was in Scottish.
Thank you for that.
I think the issue here, Jim, is the quality when it comes to the World Cup next summer, because we were all at the Euros this time last year.
Yeah.
Spain apart, that was a pretty abysmal tournament quality-wise. England limped to the final without really ever playing well. And I just wonder physically how much of a toll it will take on those top players when we get to similarly humid conditions in America next summer. And let's be honest, it's Infantino's shiny new toy. It's a bit of a money grab. You know, we're not talking about the prestige.
It's Saudi Arabian money.
Yeah, we're not
full stop.
But we're not talking about the prestige. Yeah, if Chelsea are crowned champions of the world, their fans might be.
Right.
Everybody else is talking about the fact they could win £100 million.
Yeah, the most ridiculous moment I see all year was that vote, like that Infantino done on live kind of TV, where everyone had to give a thumbs up from the federations for this tournament.
Yeah.
It was the most farcical, money-orientated moment in football I've ever seen.
And I think it's a bit repulsive, Jim, that we're talking about a £100 million game at the weekend when Sheffield Wednesday are in such dire straits for one, a grand old club of English football. Reading have been in a similar situation. And I just think the gap, as Alan has said there, between the rich clubs, the big clubs, and those poorer relations is getting bigger and bigger.
I heard what you said, Alan, and Jurgen Klopp went even further, calling the expanded tournament the worst idea ever implemented in football. And then you have Arsene Wenger, one of the top men at FIFA, a man leading the FIFA task force on player welfare.
Another on the FIFA payroll.
So you kind of think when it comes to player welfare, Arsene might go a bit in your direction, Alan.
True.
But this was Arsene Wenger speaking to Ben Jacobs.
Everybody is entitled in our work to have an opinion. I don't share the opinion of Jurgen Klopp at all, because I feel that a World Cup, a real club World Cup is needed. And if we make an inquiry today with all the clubs who were here at this competition, I'm basically sure that there will 100% of answers of people who want to do this again. So, but basically the best answer is not my opinion, it's not your club opinion, is what the clubs participated in this competition think of a competition, and I'm convinced that will be very positive.
So there's Wenger, who's in charge of the FIFA task force on player welfare, saying teams are in favour of what is a fantastic competition.
Yeah, of course he's actually talking about the owners of the clubs and the people who are running the football clubs, not the players. That's a different vote. Would they want it? I'm not so sure about that.
But Alan,
You'd love to listen,
go on.
I've had disagreements with Arsene Wenger many times, as we know.
Seen it publicly.
And he actually ended up getting fined where I didn't. I just will make that point because I was right. But I think if you're on the FIFA payroll, which he is, he is compromised. He's not the man to ask. Jurgen Klopp is not on anyone's payroll other than Red Bull, right? So he has given you a professional opinion, right, from his own masterful mind of working at Liverpool Football Club, one of the biggest clubs in the country. So this problem of players constantly playing, week in, week out, is why squads are getting bigger. Okay, that is the only defence you can make as a coach and manager. Try and make your squad bigger.
Would you not love to be Enzo Maresca this morning, Al?
Yeah, exactly, where you can rotate. And of course, that is going to have to be the model. And when you even look at Liverpool now, the likes of their squad, You're going to have to, but the league managers are going to have to compensate for these new tournaments by constantly rotating.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, the model of the squad, the new squad, where you're chopping and changing all the time, where fans are coming in. Like, if you go back 15 years ago and you go to any stadium and say, name the team today, they would be able to name 100% probably, right? The fans. I'm talking about the fans.
Yeah.
Now, they're probably...
anybody's guess.
I mean, pundits, we can come on to, what do you think it's going to be? Get it completely wrong. It'll be like 3-4 wrong.
It's live in talkSPORT, the final on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Are either of you going to put your money on Chelsea? No. Not the way that PSG have played since the turn of the year.
Well, PSG have had a year that's just unprecedented, and you'd expect them to win it. But, you know, football, in particularly cup finals, are unpredictable. And Chelsea have got a team that can be unpredictable. Who knows?
Who knows? We're about to find out. You'll hear it live in talkSPORT. That is Sunday. This is now. It's Friday morning at 11 o'clock. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Spurs are cooking up a storm this transfer window. After bagging West Ham winger Mohamed Kudus for $55 million, Tottenham have now managed to grab Morgan Gibbs-White after triggering his £60 million release clause. Former Spurs defender Raymond Vega reckons they could be setting themselves up for a good season.
The bigger mistake and the core mistake within Spurs within the last 4 to 5 years, what kind of player, what kind of transfer, and how early you can go into it. And I think now, I can see now, they learn from the past mistakes and they're really going in early stage. And it's great for the managers as well. I think for Frank, fantastic.
We understand Gibbs-White will complete his medical later. Former Forest striker Gary Birtles isn't too pleased with him, or Anthony Elanga, who just completed his move to Newcastle.
Those two were unbelievable for us last season. And I just hope they're thankful for what the football club and Nuno has done for them, because when Elanga came, there were doubts about, you know, his credibility. You know, we all knew he was a great player. And he's turned his career around at Forest, and you've got to praise Forest for doing that. And the same with Morgan Gibbs-White.
Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson to Brentford. That's what we're hearing. He's a free agent at the moment after leaving Ajax and is expected to complete his medical later. It's as Spurs and Forest compete for Brentford's Johan Wissa, who wants to leave this summer. It's thought the forward wants to reunite with his old boss, Thomas Frank. And it looks like Noni Madueke is moving from SWC N6 to N7. Arsenal have agreed to sign the Chelsea winger for $52 million. We expect it to be a 5-year deal. For all the latest transfer news, head to talksport.com. At SW19, it's the men's singles semi-final day. Carlos Alcaraz and Taylor Fritz are in the first game on centre court, followed by Yannick Sinner versus Novak Djokovic. And will Ben Stokes last the day? That's the question England fans have as they head into day 2 of the third test against India at Lord's. talkSPORT will bring you ball-by-ball updates throughout the day.
Good morning, everybody. It's Jim White. It is Alan Pardew and it's Alex Crook. And the three of us, Lucky Boys, are live on talkSPORT. We're also live on YouTube and your smart TV. You can watch the show as well as listen to it. And many of you are doing that, increasing numbers by the day. And we're thrilled about that. Thank you so much for everything you do for this show between 10 and 1 live on talkSPORT. A lot to get through in the next hour, not least we're going to touch upon the appearance in this very studio yesterday of one John Textor and matters Crystal Palace, Alan's former club, of course. We'll get to that in a second. But Alex, I think news coming through which will be of great interest to Liverpool fans everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Liverpool due to play their first game since the tragic passing of Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva. They go to Preston for a friendly on Sunday. There was some debate about whether this game would go ahead. It is happening. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff at Deepdale, and we now know about some of the tributes that Preston and Liverpool are planning. Ahead of kickoff, there'll be a rendition of the Liverpool anthem, You'll Never Walk Alone. The home club will lay a wreath alongside the away supporters. There's going to be a minute's silence as well for Diogo and Andre to remember them. Both sets of players are wearing black armbands during the game, and Preston have also created a commemorative edition of the Matchday programme that features written tributes to both brothers. So sure to be an emotional occasion at Preston on Sunday.
Very much so. Very much so. Alex, thank you for that. Back here, and I mean this, we're still getting a major reaction to our exclusive interview yesterday with the American businessman John Textor. Former Crystal Palace co-owner Textor spoke to us as FA Cup winners Palace faced demotion to the Europa Conference League because his Eagle Football Holdings also owns the French club Lyon, who won their appeal against relegation from Ligue 1 this week. Now, had Lyon remained in Ligue 2 as a consequence of financial issues, Palace would have been allowed to play in the Europa League instead of them next season. So it's a somewhat complex situation with Palace fans, through no fault of their own, caught up in the confusion. John Textor sat in the studio yesterday and was prepared to answer anything that I or Simon put to him. And, of course, I put it to him that surely he had to be prepared to a large degree to hold his hands up because of the the confusion that has come about. Even at the time when the FA Cup was being presented to Crystal Palace, did he not think, now, there could be a conflict of interest here? This was Textor. More recently, when the Crystal Palace captain lifted the FA Cup above his head and you're applauding, was a part of you thought, oh, God.
Oh, is what I thought. Am I allowed to say that?
Who said it?
God. Yeah, no, I didn't. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was so happy, but I felt the gravity to it, and I was concerned, of course.
On the same day?
Holding the cup next to the Prince. Yeah, it was a great, great moment, and I couldn't have been happier. I couldn't have been happier for the fans.
So, Alan, there and then, while the Palace boys are celebrating and the fans are saying in one breath, we've won the FA Cup and it's Europa League football next season, Textor was thinking, could be a problem here.
Well, you know, there's a few caveats to that in terms of what he's saying, because firstly, Crystal Palace isn't multi-club ownership. Textor's multi-club ownership, but he doesn't own the whole of Crystal Palace, and it's not linked. They don't have transfers between. There's not a kind of information sharing situation. It's not like Manchester City Group, where very much that is the model. So Textor owns Lyon for sure, yeah, and he could have had a process, and I think the process of the sale was before March the 1st, actually, right, which was the deadline, but it hasn't got across the line until such time has gone. But the bottom line is, with Crystal Palace, they're in real jeopardy about making this situation for the Europa League, and you know, it doesn't smell to me like it's going to happen, and I think there will be a possibility of a demotion to the Conference League, which all Crystal Palace fans will be really, really hurt by. I remember in 1990, after I think it was the Hazel incident, the tragedy that happened there, that we were thrown out of Europe, and Palace didn't make it into Europe then either. So it's almost like history repeating itself to a degree. But just remember this about Textor: his ownership of that football club wasn't like a multi-club ownership with Crystal Palace. So really and truly, this connection to Lyon and them both being in the same competition isn't a compromise at all.
The sad aspect for me, and he gets this, of course he does, Alex, is that the Crystal Palace fans unwittingly are caught in the middle of it. Because they had one of the famous days following the football club, which to a large degree has been tarnished by what's happened with this.
Well, they're the ones who will suffer. John Textor's not going to suffer if Palace are in the Europa League or not, because obviously he's severed his interest in the club now, although it's not been ratified yet by the Premier League, but it will happen with Woody Johnson coming in to replace him. I think it'll be a disgrace, and I think UEFA should hang their heads in shame if they make an example out of a club like Crystal Palace. When you look at how many big clubs around Europe are under multi-ownership banners and have never been punished in this manner. Crystal Palace winning their first ever major trophy, qualifying for Europe for the first time in their history. Yeah. If they're demoted, then that for me sums up all that is wrong with modern football. And I would implore UEFA to show a bit of common sense here. The takeover is going to happen. John Textor no longer has any kind of influence, if he had any already at Crystal Palace.
Correct.
Don't punish these supporters.
And this also goes back to the World Club Championship, right? Where you've got now the body of world clubs like the Real Madrids, you know, with the Super League, that cartel is trying to create that situation with UEFA and FIFA where they get preferential treatment. And clubs like Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa to a degree, how can they possibly break into it? How can they get there with the financial situations in place and the money that just keeps coming for them, and sometimes even the decision making going their way too?
Of course, off the back of what was a trophy-winning season for Crystal Palace.
By the way, I go back to one thing you said about nothing's going to spoil Crystal Palace's summer, by the way. Within that FA Cup,
it was a great day.
Everything.
No,
this is a slight tarnish.
And it was a trophy-winning season, as I've just said. Yeah. So was it somewhat strange for John Textor to go in the direction of who is ambitious and who maybe isn't as quite ambitious at Crystal Palace? I know, Alan, that you've spoken to Steve Parish, who's still in situ, of course, at Crystal Palace. And I'm going to get to that because I'm hoping you'll give us his reaction to what Textor said on this yesterday. Have a listen.
for him, it's a stay of execution because I think his club was going to be sold to us. He loves the club. He'll probably want to stay there forever. And this obviously strengthened him in that position, and good for him. I hope they get to Europa League. I hope he has a strategy to get back there because the changes I see in the club, you know, everybody's gone. The top sporting guy's gone. Top managers are gone. And yeah, they're in a tournament, but what's their strategy next year?
Do you think Steve Parish can match your ambition?
No, I think his ambition every year is to avoid relegation. Our ambition is to climb the table. Who thought we could go from bankruptcy to winning South America in 2.5 years down there? I mean, that was crazy. We had an expression down in Brazil, it only happens to Botafogo, and that was a description of the incredible ways we would lose. Now that expression means you take a red card in the first minute in the final Libertadores and you still win 10 against 11. So we have that ambition to climb to the top of the table. I took them from relegation, 7 points after 14 rounds in France, and in one half of the season we were the best team in France and we got to Europa League. And we damn near got to the semifinals.
So John Textor was saying that Steve Parish, as his ambition level, is to see Palace avoid relegation year in, year out. But he was saying, mine was more than that. You've spoken to Parish. What's he said?
Well, hold on a minute. Sam has spoken to Steve Parish. Firstly, Steve Parish sacked me unfairly, in my opinion. But that's another story. But so he's not. I wouldn't class Steve Parish as a friend of mine, a mate of mine. He's not. You know, he was my employer. You know, he was my boss. What I do know is his feelings on this, and I agree with his feelings on this. In that Crystal Palace are being punished unfairly on this Europa League situation. They are definitely being punished unfairly, in my opinion. But when we go back to his ambition, he has a long history of football. He's been involved at Crystal Palace in relegations, right? He knows the jeopardy of relegation in terms of financially and what can happen to a football club. And you've only got to look at some examples that have happened to other football clubs, Sheffield Wednesday included. So, you know, has he got that kind of seed in him? Yes. Do I have it as a manager? Yes. Does every Premier League manager have it? Have a bar about 7 clubs, 6 clubs maybe? Yes. Because you first and foremost, like all managers would tell you, let's get to 40 points, okay? And then let's have a glass of wine and go, wow, first job done. Now, Steve Parish does have that, and I'm sure he's brought that to the boardroom. That doesn't mean to say he lacks ambition. Of course he doesn't. Why is he fighting so hard to get him into the Europa League? He wants to be in the Europa League and fighting to keep his players. Obviously, the big clubs are coming for them too, which Crookie will probably come on about release clauses, etc., etc. So this is no defence of Steve Parish by me. This is a defence of Crystal Palace Football Club that I'm offering.
Alan, thank you for that. We'll touch more on John Textor in due course of that, there is no doubt. Let's head down to Lords because Sam Ellard is about to tell us about a big moment for Joe Root. Sam.
Yeah, massive moment for Joe Root, first ball of the day, Jim, getting to a 37th Test match 100. But India have their first wicket of the morning session in the third over, and it's Jasprit Bumrah bowling Ben Stokes for 44, going around the wicket, getting the ball to angle into the left-hander, beat Ben Stokes on the inside edge, the ball crashing into his off stump. So Bumrah bowls Stoke for 44, Joe Root not out on 103. Jamie Smith, of course, had that incredible Test match. Edgbaston just come to the crease. He's yet to get off the mark, but a really good start for India, picking up their first wicket in the third over of the morning session, and England are 260 for 5.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. It's Jim White, Alex Crook and Alan Pardew, as always on this show. Somewhere along the line we talk boxing, and we're about to do that. And you don't want to miss this, because the British Boxing Board of Control's Robert Smith is about to join us live on matters Chris Eubank Jr. and saunas.
plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
It isn't a show these days without us talking about boxing, because the love of boxing in this country has grown to me, it seems, to an incredible extent. So much so, an enormous amount of interest on the big fight next weekend at Wembley, when Alexander Usyk goes in against Daniel Dubois. Can Dubois do what Fury couldn't? Can Dubois do what Joshua couldn't? Can they overcome this man Usyk? Well, that is then and this is now. And now, or certainly yesterday, with Simon, myself and Spencer Oliver, our focus of attention was on Chris Eubank Jr., who, after seeing off the challenge of Conor Benn and winning well at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, then landed himself in a bit of trouble. We know he got hit in the pocket after facing a number of fines from the British Boxing Board of Control in recent months. Eubank Jr. was handed a 100 grand fine for slapping Ben with an egg in the build-up to the fight, and he then missed weight during the fight week itself and was fined £375,000. But it was within the £10 rehydration limit on fight morning. That said, the same Chris Eubank Jr. still found himself in front of the beaks at the British Boxing Board of Control because of what we thought was for the use of a sauna to cut weight. It turns out he was fined 10 grand for, quotes, misuse of social media. The British Boxing Board of Control's General Secretary is Robert Smith, and Robert joins us live in the show. Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you confirm that to me, Robert, that he got fined 10 grand for misuse of social media?
Yeah, I think you've got to go back a little bit. When day before a contest, when a boxer does his pre-medical check, he's asked whether he's used saunas or not, of which it was a no. He then goes in on social media to say he's been using a sauna, and also at the hearing, his trainer said he hadn't used any false means to make any weight. So the council felt that the social media comments were incorrect, and therefore they found him. Just want to go back a little bit, Jim. The £100,000 for, you talk about an egg, forget the egg, he actually struck Conor Benn, and he was fined £100,000 for that. With regard to the £300,000, that's got nothing to do with the board. That's a contracted thing between the promoters and the individuals involved, and that was a forfeit because he failed to make the weight. So that's not a fine from the board. That is a forfeit with regard to the contract they had.
Right. I'm with you. But it's my understanding, Robert, that evidence provided by Eubank and his team shows that the board has ruled that he was not guilty of using a sauna on the day of the weigh-in. Is that true?
That's correct. For the information we have, the information that was given before the Southern Area Council, the trainer was quite adamant and the training programme went very well. They didn't need to do that, and the social media thing contradicted that, and therefore that's why the fine was given.
So can you articulate to me the exact terminology that you use in the rule book for misuse of social media?
Yes, we have. If you look at our website, we have social media guidelines with regard to what you should say and what you shouldn't say. It's all there, and obviously not giving the correct information is a breach of that guideline. So therefore, the information that was given at the hearing, they deemed it he was in breach of that guideline.
So then if we break the whole thing down, sorry, I sound a bit pedantic on this, but clarify it for me. He's at liberty to use a sauna if he wants, but he can't post about it on social media.
No, I think you've got to go back again. As I said, the day before the contest, when he does his pre-medical, he claimed he had not used a sauna. Then he goes on social media and said he had used a sauna. Then when they spoke to the trainer and said we didn't use any means to dramatically lose weight. Therefore, that's where the explanation on the day, unfortunately, I wasn't there with the Southern Area Matter, but the council at that time felt the information was being given wrongly. And therefore, that's obviously the reason why it was fined. There's also other things that have to be considered as well with regard to that hearing. You know, things that were said, I mean, in the social media stance that I read, was that he wasn't allowed to go to the toilet when he fell the way in the first place. Well, that's incorrect. That wasn't allowed. That was absolutely allowed. He could have done what he wanted at that time. The problem that Christopher had, I think, is he turned up 40 minutes late for the weigh-in. Didn't give him enough time to make the weight properly. He only failed the weight by a gnat's whisker, to be fair. And if he'd have done it, if he'd have been there in time, he would have made the weight.
But if he had, but Robert, clear this up for me. If he hadn't gone on social media, you wouldn't have fined him.
We wouldn't have possibly known about it, Jim, would we? The biggest thing when you know about these things, you've got to deal with it. You can't just ignore what you hear. You've got to deal with it.
Here's Alan.
No, the only thing I'd say, Robert, is that basically what you're saying is he's breached the truth. So he's basically saying one thing and doing something else on social media. That's what you've actually fined him for.
That's correct. That's correct, Alan.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've got procedures in place, Alex. I'm sure you know. I know you're a boxing fan. It's a very, very tough sport, etc. We have procedures in place. We need people to be honest with us, and if they're not honest with us, we have to deal with it.
So what are the actual rules when it comes to using saunas? Is that prohibited?
No, there's no actual rule to say not, but we advise the boxers by our doctors that by using drastic or false measures in making weight, you shouldn't be doing it quickly. And sauna is one of those things, along with plastic suits. Now, obviously, doctors' views have changed over the years, because I remember when I was boxing, it was very, very commonplace, and I'm sure it's relatively commonplace now. But our procedures are in place to make sure the safety of the boxers, and we advise them all the time with regard to dehydration and the consequences of dehydration.
At the end of the day, Robert, I'm sure you'd agree with me, it's back pocket change to Chris Eubank Jr., isn't it? I mean, you and the board have got to be seen to fine him.
I don't know whether it's got to be seen to fine them, Jim. I think we have to do the job properly as best we can. It's a very, very difficult situation with social media, which I'm sure everybody in that room realises what social media can do. It's a good thing, and it can be a very bad thing. And on this occasion, it didn't really work for Chris. But however, I mean, we try to do the things the best we can. We can't police everything that goes on all the time, as you're well aware. It's like a footballer. You don't know what they do when they go home. We don't know what boxers do when they go home. We just got to make sure that our procedures are in place to make sure we make a very tough and dangerous sport as safe as we possibly can. And that's what we're trying to do.
Robert, I want to thank you for your time this morning. Robert Smith, General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. Another wicket at Lords, and there might be one after that. Let's head down there with Sam.
2 wickets in 2 balls for Jasprit Bumrah. England in a little bit of trouble now in the morning session on day 2, 271 for 7. The 6th wicket was the big wicket for India. Jasprit Bumrah getting Joe Root a full ball outside of off stump. They just nipped back in a little bit. Joe Root inside edging the ball onto his middle stump. So Joe Root starting the day by getting to a 37 Test match 100, bowled by Bumrah for 104. Then the next ball, Chris Woakes come to the crease. Jasprit Bumrah hanging the ball outside of off stump. Chris Woakes plays at the ball, went through to the keeper, given not out on field. A lot of Indian fielders, especially in the slip cordon, liked it. They reviewed it, and there was a thick outside edge. So Jasprit Bumrah now, Jim, is on a hat-trick. The new batsman at the crease is going to be Bryden Cast. England 271 for 7. They started the day on 251 for 4, looking to post a big first innings total. What a moment this would be here, Jim. Jasprit Bumrah, the home of cricket, the best bowler in the world, bowling to Bryden Cast. It's a hat-trick ball, 4 slips in pace. Bumrah to Cast, and Bryden Cast with a forward defensive. What a start though for India this morning. Bumrah's on fire. England 271 for 7.
You're on fire as well, Sam. Thank you very much indeed. Just a reminder, in the world of boxing, Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz headline what is a stack card in New York with Shakur Stevenson defending his WBC lightweight title against William Zepeda, and that's on Sunday. Live only on DAZN by DAZNnow.com/boxing.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Spurs are cooking up a storm this transfer window. After bagging West Ham winger Mohamed Kudus for £55 million, Tottenham have now managed to grab Morgan Gibbs-White after triggering his £60 million release clause. Former Spurs defender Raymond Vega reckons they could be setting themselves up for a good season.
The bigger mistake and the core mistake within Spurs within the last 4 to 5 years, what kind of player, what kind of transfer, and how early you can go into it. And I think now, I can see now, they learn from the past mistakes and they're really going in early stage. And it's great for the managers as well. I think for Frank, fantastic.
We understand Gibbs-White will complete his medical later. Former Forest striker Gary Birtles isn't too pleased with him, or Anthony Elanga, who just completed his move to Newcastle.
Those two were unbelievable for us last season, and I just hope they're thankful for what the football club and Nuno has done for them.
Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson to Brentford. That's what we're hearing. He's a free agent at the moment after leaving Ajax and is expected to complete his medical later. And it looks like Noni Madueke is moving from SW6 to N7. Arsenal have agreed to sign the Chelsea winger for £52 million. And will Ben Stokes last the day? That's the question England fans have as they head into day 2 of the third test against India at Lord's. talkSPORT will bring you ball-by-ball updates throughout the day.
Just gone 11:30 this Friday morning. The temperature is rising out there. It's going to be another really, really hot one here in the southeast. Of course, Wimbledon and the cricket, they all love that. It's getting a bit warm for us, I can tell you, even in this studio. Us being Jim White, Alex Crook and Alan Pardew. In the meantime, it's time for this.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
Yeah, it's that time. We're joined by Lord Charlie Robertson from BetMGM. Dan Towse, I'm reliably informed, Charlie is playing golf somewhere in the sunshine. Is that right?
That is right, Jim. Yeah, he's passed the baton over to me today, so I am stepping into the breach.
And nobody better to step into the breach than Charlie Robertson. Charlie, I'm with Alex Crook, and alongside Alex is Alan Pardew, and we start at Wimbledon, somewhere that Alan Pardew has experience of working at many years ago.
Yeah, men's semi-final day today, Jim, isn't it, at Wimbledon? Two sort of really interesting games. First one, Taylor Fritz versus Carlos Alcaraz. The Spaniards just 1-6 to make the final. I think that's pretty fair given how well he's played so far. And Fritz, who's lost the last two against Alcaraz, is 4-1. The other semi-final we think will be a bit closer. Unsurprisingly, it's Jannik Sinner against Novak Djokovic. World number one Sinner is 12-25 with Djokovic 13-8. Sinner has won the last four encounters between the two, but Djokovic won the last two at Wimbledon. I'd probably just lean with Djokovic at the price in that one. And then very quickly, Jim, I know you're a big fan of Iga Swiatek. You were talking about her yesterday. She, of course, made it to the final yesterday, and she's the favourite for that one at 11-25 with the American Amanda Anisimova, I think how you pronounce it, is the underdog at 9-5. But yeah, your hero Swiatek's the favourite in that one, Jim.
That's right. I saw her win at Roland Garros, and I hope she wins this time around. Although I like the other girl as well. And what about Mr. Pardew and Mr. Crook? Where are we going with this? I think we're looking at a Sinner Alcaraz final.
I'm with that all the way. I think Djokovic, the foot injury and all that. I think he kind of sometimes sets the scene, if you know what I mean. That he might lose face. But I think Sinner's got too much for him. And I think it'll be a great final if them two guys are there again. A repeat, obviously. So let's see.
Yeah, I think it's what tennis is needed, isn't it? We've been talking for a number of years now about the heir to the throne, if you like. Obviously, Djokovic still going strong, but Nadal, Federer, Murray,
the handing
no
of the
longer out
baton.
there competing. I think
We've been talking about it for years. We've been talking about it for years, and now actually it looks like it's finally happened.
Yeah, it's looking that way. So, nobody better to be sitting beside in studio than Alex this morning as we talk, Charlie, about the transfer window springing into life. And it is, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so, Jim. I imagine Crookie's phone's been pretty busy over the last 24 hours or so with all these moves. We were having a chat in the office earlier, and I think for the first time, some of the sort of transfers have actually made a difference to the market, specifically the relegation ones. Just looking at the market, unsurprisingly, the sort of three promoted teams, Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds, are the favourites. But we've seen quite a lot of money for Brentford actually to go down there, 7-2 from 5-1. Ooh. And also a bit of money for Nottingham Forest, who have looked like they're losing two big players in Alanga and Gibbs White. Alan and Crookie, I know you briefly touched on it earlier, but I just want to sort of get more of your thoughts on whether you sort of fear for the likes of Brentford and Forest this season with all these outgoings, or do you think they'll have enough sort of know how to stay in the division, or do you fear for them this season?
No, I think I fear for them a bit, based on the fact that Sunderland have already spent significant money. I think Leeds, under the 49ers, are going to invest heavily in the summer as well. Not convinced by Burnley, to be honest. I think they'll probably go straight back down. But I look at Brentford. Forest, I think Marinakis will recruit and they'll be okay. Wolves, I would be a bit worried about. They've lost Cunha. They've lost Aït-Nouri. Semedo at the moment is not signing a new contract. They're three big players for Vitor Pereira to replace. And there is a sort of trend and a pattern at Wolves that the players, when a new manager comes in, raise their game for the first 6 months or so. And then it all goes downhill quite quickly. So what price are Wolves?
Yeah, I wonder what price Man United are. The reason I asked that is because their performance last year, they've still got the five big hitters who are not training with the first team. The manager is a young manager who obviously didn't have the greatest season, had a terrible cup final. That club, really and truly, there should be a lot of warning signs about Manchester United this year so far.
Wow, Alan. Do you fall into the school of thought that Amorim could well be a goner by the new year.
I like Amorim, but I just look at his cards that he's got, i.e. the squad and what he's inheriting, and I fear for him. Not fear for him out of his quality and the way he carries himself. I think he's perfect for Manchester United, but the squad, the infrastructure above him worries me. I don't know how much influence the owner is throwing at everything, or he's throwing bombs around, but it just all looks at the moment. And the five, I mean, how to devalue a squad. Not that let them train with the first team. Come to one side. Well, they're all for sale, everybody. But, you know, all cheap as you like. It's almost like devaluing them.
Are you telling me that it could be relegation candidates at this stage?
Well, I'm saying it half jokingly, but when you see where they finished last year and you weigh up what they've done so far, it's certainly more worrying than Nottingham Forest and Wolves at the moment.
Do you want to tell us, Charlie, what they're priced at to go down at this stage?
Yeah, Wolves are just over 3-1, Jim, and we make United 20-1 for relegation. So yeah, not out of the realms of possibility, as Alan mentioned, especially if they don't. I mean, I think they're going to get Mbuemo, aren't they? But yeah, they still need a few additions.
What you have to understand at Manchester United as well, when you have a big club that haven't really got a team that can warrant the stadium then becomes counterproductive. I had that at Newcastle. Of course, when you've got a team that's good enough, the stadium becomes a massive asset. But then, if it's not good enough to warrant the stage then becomes the problem. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense.
You know,
of course.
As we speak at this time, unless Manchester United pull some money, and Crookie will know more about the financial situation at Manchester United than I do, but it doesn't sound like they're, you know, even Vardy got a mention yesterday as maybe going to Manchester United. I mean, wow.
Yeah, 20-1 to go down in mid-July. Wow. Charlie, we know on Sunday the two finalists, the Club World Cup, Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain. It's a talkSPORT exclusive. What are you thinking?
Yeah, another obviously big game for Chelsea, Jim. Yeah, obviously PSG strong favourites at 3-5. They've won 10 of their last 11 in all competitions, and they're just 3-10 to lift the trophy. So we do see a fairly one-sided encounter. Chelsea at 21-5 in the 90-minute market. The draw's 33-10. And Enzo Maresca's side at 12-5 to lift the trophy. Alan, there's been a bit of chat about Chelsea and sort of how this tournament might affect them moving forward this season, and some have said they might even be title challengers. Where would you stand on that debate? Can you see them taking on the likes of Liverpool this season, or do you think they're a little bit behind that at the moment?
Well, the one just going back to, I don't know what that song words are that Chelsea use about winning everything. This is the one thing they still haven't won quite yet. No one's won. So it would be ironic, wouldn't it, if they win this as well. But anyway, I just think they're the wild cards.
Yeah.
If someone said to me, the Premier League, what's your wild card? I'd say Chelsea. I don't think they can win it. But, wow, you just don't know. The manager's had a year there now. He knows the squad. He's got so many options. Wild card for me.
I think it depends, Alan, what mood PSG are in. If PSG are in the mood, not only do they win, they wipe people out, like they did in the Champions League final against Inter Milan, like they did the other night against Real Madrid.
Yeah, they're on another level to everybody else at the moment in terms of their pressing and the way they're tactically made up, and the two fullbacks, you know, who are allowed to raid.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that Dembele's not even started. He's only that one game, just the last game. And that's what I'm saying about they even have the ability to rotate their offence a bit. And only Liverpool are the only team, I think, that complete with PSG in terms of offensive options of changing three, putting two in, you know, and having the same quality.
Yeah, you think PSG by a distance, Alex?
I don't know about by a distance, but you wouldn't rule it out. They're just relentless, aren't they? You know, with that press, with the energy they've got, with the options off the bench. I'd probably advise Robert Sanchez, who's not the best with the ball at his feet, maybe go a little bit more direct in this game. Otherwise, you might be in trouble.
And I think there's a new term that sort of evolved in the last sort of 5-10 years, where you hear a manager say "in this moment." It's like a new sort of catchphrase. And he said it the other day. The manager, he said, "In this moment, we are terrific."
In this moment,
yeah.
In this moment, we're saying goodbye to Charlie. Before in this moment, we say goodbye to you. What is the price for Chelsea to win on Sunday night? Did you say?
Sunday night, Jim, they are 21-5 in the 90-minute market and 12-5 to lift the trophy, and they're actually 14-1 to win the Premier League title. So they're fourth favourites behind the obvious three, but we're not totally ruling that one out either.
Charlie, thanks very much indeed. Hope Dan Taus is playing golf and enjoying it in the sunshine, and he's got Factor 50 on. Remember, visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
11:45 right on the dot this Friday lunchtime. Let's head back down to Lords and rejoin Sam Ellard. Sam.
Jim, a lot has happened in the first 45 minutes. England resumed in a pretty decent position at 251 for 4. The day started with Joe Root reaching a 37th Test match 100, driving through backward point. But Jasprit Bumrah, the best bowler in the world, has done Jasprit Bumrah things, picking up 3 wickets in 3 overs. First, he got Ben Stokes going around the wicket, getting a ball to angle in, beat the left-hander on the inside edge. Stokes bowled for 44. Then he got the big wicket of Joe Root, a full ball outside of his off stump, nipped back in a little bit, came off the inside edge of Root's bat. Then he got a second wicket in as many balls. A wide ball which Chris Woakes played at, took the outside edge, caught behind. So Jamie Smith is not out on 16, but Jamie Smith is lucky to be at the crease. He was dropped when he was on 5, trying to cut a short and wide ball. Took the outside edge, should have been caught second slip by KRL. So he's fortunate to still be at the crease, but we know that Jamie Smith is a dangerous player that can move the score on quickly. Smith's not out on 16, Brian Cast is unbeaten on 8. 3 wickets early on, Jim, in the morning session for India. England in a little bit of bother at 287 for 7.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. Alex alongside Alan Pardew with me this lunchtime live in talkSPORT. From Ryan Reynolds to Luka Modric, and now it's Gareth Bale who's fronting a consortium. What is it about the lure of Welsh football? We'll get into that next.
Plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
It does seem that there is a lot of interest in Welsh football clubs. We know that Ryan Reynolds and his people got in, and at Wrexham, they are making headlines, it seems, by the week. Wrexham going leaps and bounds. Is destination Premier League out of the question? Maybe it's not. And now Luka Modric, of course, absolute legend of the game, a huge favourite at Real Madrid, putting some of his money, it would appear, into Swansea City. The very latest one is Gareth Bale, a proud Welshman himself, of course, but it looks like Gareth Bale is fronting a consortium that would love to get its hands on Cardiff City. talkSPORT's Wales reporter is Lawrence Mora. Lawrence is about to join us. Alex and Alan are beside me here in studio. Lawrence, before we come to you, we do know that Gareth has openly spoken about this. Just last month, he spoke initially about this interest in Cardiff.
Not necessarily the dugout, but no, definitely be excited to be a part of an ownership group, and would love to kind of go down that route.
Are we expecting a second bid?
I can't say too much, but like I said, we would love to be a part of that Cardiff ownership and take Cardiff back where they belong.
And finally, we sort of heard rumours of Plymouth Argyle before. Was that ever an option for you, or was that just speculation?
No, I have no idea where Plymouth came from, to be honest with you, but it's always been Cardiff that we've been trying to get, and obviously being from Cardiff, it's obviously where I was born, where I grew up. I'm very passionate. Obviously, I know how passionate the Wales fans and the Cardiff fans are, so it's an interesting time, exciting time, and hopefully something can be done.
So that was Gareth then, and this is Gareth now, because since then he's obviously gone back to his people at the consortium and said, right, if we're serious about it, we maybe need to improve the bid. So it appears they've done that, and this is Gareth speaking more recently to Front Office Sports.
I guess exciting news. We have a brand new offer on the table. We've recently just gone in. We think it's a great offer, one that we think, and we're very happy. We think it's very fair, very, if not more than fair, and something that we hope the current owners will take serious. Yeah, we'd love them to accept.
A proud Welshman. Here's another, Lawrence Mura. Lawrence, good morning to you. What's left of it? Is this going to clinch it, do you think?
Good morning, Jim. Well, listen, I think in the first instance, the first offer that went in, I know the Supporters Trust spoke about it. They called it a fishing trip. So I don't think it was particularly taken too seriously. I don't think it really registered with Vincent Tan in terms of anything that he was looking at. My understanding is that actually Vincent Tan is not particularly interested in selling. When I talk to people in and around the club, that's the kind of vibe that we're getting from. So it's really interesting that Gareth's gone back in with what feels like a more serious offer from people I've spoken to this morning. However, it is all going to come down to whether Vincent Tan actually really does want to sell. And look, while he's propping the club up, there are big debts on Cardiff City that Vincent Tan is honouring and keeping the club afloat. I mean, in the last financial statements, it was looking like the losses over the past 3 seasons have averaged out at 1.5 million per month. So it is going to take, I imagine, quite a bid from Gareth and the consortium to really kind of interest Vincent Tan in terms of cutting those losses.
I know for a fact, Lawrence, after the first bid, when Gareth was speaking to some of Vincent's people, it was, we're not interested. Whether that has changed or not, I'm not entirely sure. Alan and Alex are with me. I don't know if you've got any intel on this, Alex, but Alan, I mean, it's a good job for somebody, isn't it, at Cardiff City? If you're looking to get into football and you've got the backing of the right kind of people, this is a great club with a great stadium.
Oh, absolutely. And, to have someone like Gareth Bale heading that consortium as a sort of figurehead, that, it's going to be music for the fans. They'll be all over it. I was interested, when I was talking about having the Man United position of, putting yourself in a terrible selling position by putting 5 players not allowed to train with the team, and just devaluing the squad. Right. Tan not interested in selling is the message coming out of. Well, that would be obvious. Yes. Of course, he's not interested in selling until the price is right. So I would suggest that is, the comments that Gareth's making there suggest to me that they are making some headway. Whether it's enough, we'll have to wait and see. But a great club.
The fans will welcome it, Lawrence, when they're not just because of the emotional attachment of Gareth Bale, but because they've had their fill of Vincent Tan, haven't they? The decisions that he's made that have led to their relegation to League One.
Yeah, I think that's an absolutely fair comment. Look, I don't think all the fans, I won't speak for all Cardiff fans, but certainly the ones I speak to are ready for a change. Look, I think they've had problems with the red to blue, or blue to red, sorry, and then they had promotions to the Premier League, which kind of got the crowds going. But then in the last 4 years, really, the amount of managers that have come in, it's been a revolving door. The amount of messages myself and you have had, Alex, over the latest managerial links or who's about to lose their job has been incredible, really. But I think for Cardiff, the Cardiff fans that I speak to, they want a fresh start. They want to have something they can believe in. They look down the road to Swansea and see Luka Modric suddenly heading up a consortium there and what's going on there. And I think they just want to have something they can believe in, especially with Wrexham now kind of leapfrogging them up to the Championship as well. So, yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Alex. I think the majority, and certainly the ones I speak to, would welcome a change.
And I think when it comes to the bit, Lawrence, that you could virtually call Vincent an absentee owner. He's never really around the place. You remember him in the outskirts of the stadium, the periphery of the playing field, and he'd be always doing his little sign on the top of his head, and the fans bought into that and they loved him. And he was a character, but we don't see him anymore. When you don't see them, you begin to wonder.
Yeah, and you wonder whether whether the interest is still there. I know he's been reducing some of his business interests around the world as well recently, but Cardiff has not been one of those. And it felt like with the latest managerial situation, and when they got to the end of the season, was it going to be Aaron Ramsey? And it felt like a football consortium. So it does feel like there are still splits within the boardroom. Whether Barry Murphy was everybody's choice. You know, those discussions going on behind closed doors, we'll never know really. But certainly from my understanding, there was plenty of support for Aaron Ramsey to be given the job as manager. So yeah, look, I think it's one of those where if the price is right, I think Vincent Tam will take it, and we just have to wait and see whether Gareth got the prices right.
Okay, I think we'll make a quick call to Vincent in the coming days and see where we're at with that. Lawrence, thank you very much indeed. I know where we're at now. We're coming up to 12 noon this Friday lunchtime.
Spurs are cooking up a storm this transfer window. After bagging West Ham winger Mohamed Kudus for £55 million, Tottenham have now managed to grab Morgan Gibbs-White after triggering his £60 million release clause. Former Spurs defender Raymond Vega reckons they could be setting themselves up for a good season.
The bigger mistake and the core mistake within Spurs within the last 4 to 5 years, what kind of player, what kind of transfer, and how early you can go into it. And I think now, I can see now, they learn from the past mistakes and they're really going in early stage. And it's great for the managers as well. I think for Frank, fantastic.
We understand Gibbs-White will complete his medical later. Former Forest striker Gary Birtles isn't too pleased with him, or Anthony Elanga, who just completed his move to Newcastle.
Those two were unbelievable for us last season, and I just hope they're thankful for what the football club and Nuno has done for them, because when Elanga came, there were doubts about, his credibility. We all knew he was a great player. And he's turned his career around at Forest, and you've got to praise Forest for doing that. And the same with Morgan Gibbs-White.
Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson to Brentford. That's what we're hearing. He's a free agent at the moment after leaving Ajax and is expected to complete his medical later. It's as Spurs and Forest compete for Brentford's Johan Wissa, who wants to leave this summer. It's thought the forward wants to reunite with his old boss, Thomas Frank. And it looks like Noni Madueke is moving from SW6 to N7. Arsenal have agreed to sign the Chelsea winger for £52 million. We expect it to be a 5-year deal. For all the latest transfer news, head to talksport.com. At SW19, it's the men's singles semi-final day. Carlos Alcaraz and Taylor Fritz are in the first game on centre court, followed by Yannick Sinner versus Novak Djokovic. And will Ben Stokes last the day? That's the question England fans have as they head into day 2 of the third test against India at Lord's. talkSPORT will bring you ball-by-ball updates throughout the day.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is now officially Friday afternoon as we head into a big weekend, of course, and I mean big. It all goes down at Wimbledon. It's all going down at Lord's, not far from here, where we're broadcasting from at London Bridge here in the capital city. England up against India. Sam Ellard has been bringing us up to date there, and we'll head down there again shortly. 28 degrees and rising here in London this afternoon. Perfect weather for the cricket, perfect weather for the tennis. And of course, we've got Chelsea fans all over us this lunchtime saying, forget PSG, we're going to win this thing on Sunday night. There's Tommy, a huge Chelsea fan. It's ours. I mean it. PSG, watch us go on Sunday. Well, Tommy, maybe you'll be right. Time will tell on that one. Before all that, with less than 10 days until the Lions' first test against the Wallabies, the countdown is well and truly on. Just one warm-up match left, and it's all now on the line for the players to get themselves involved. They all want to make the test team, but only 15 can start. They face the Australia-New Zealand combined 15 tomorrow, live and exclusive on talkSPORT.
This time they get there. Goes to the Brumbies.
We know that the story keeps on building the more pressure that there is there.
Yeah, the Lions weren't good enough. There's some lazy penalties.
Not a perfect performance, but we don't want them to be perfect this evening. We want perfection in the Test series. Forrest got him back and he's barreling into halfway forward, up and over the 22, keep going, 5 metres out, can he get the offload away? Yes, he can!
It's a brilliant indication of just how good a talent Henry Pollock is.
If we play well, that'll help the team, but the team has to win.
Lovely ball to Jones on his shoulder, Hugh Jones will score!
You know, anyone that's involved with sport knows that when you're in Australia, they'll do anything to unsettle you.
Now there's a pile up, and there's a bit of push and shove.
They're going to be really fired up about playing the British Irish Lions.
David Havili could go all the way, that is a stunning try!
Side that the pitch is very strong and able to play some good rugby, but at the same time winning rugby.
It doesn't matter who you're playing against. When you're wearing this jersey, you're representing a lot of people.
You got to make the most every opportunity you have in the jersey. The message is this is the most important game of the tour. It has to be.
Oh yeah, it's serious stuff, isn't it? So, the first test just around the corner. Saturday, July the 19th, they're up against the Aussies in Brisbane. Before that, they take on the Invitational Australia-New Zealand 15 in Adelaide. I'm delighted to say joining Alex Crook and Alan Pardew and myself this lunchtime is former British and Irish Lion, Alex Cuthbert. Alex, good afternoon to you, mate. What's your gut feeling from what you've seen so far? Are we ready for the Aussies?
Good afternoon, lads. How's it going? I think we are. I think Andy Farrell knows pretty much, I'd say 80% of his squad that will play next week. I think the front five are pretty much nailed on with, they're like how well the scrum, I think, is going in certain areas. I think he just wants to figure out his back row. I think that's the biggest question at the moment. You know, this weekend you got the likes of Jack Morgan having a start, Van der Fleer on the bench. Tom Curry had his chance last week. I think if they can get that combination right, who plays 6 and 7, obviously with Conan playing 8, I think that will go a long way in terms of determining how they want to play Aussies. Because at the moment, I'm watching a lot of these games and it's just not quite clicking, is it? It's not quite as fluid as you would like. There's certain aspects at times they look so powerful. They absolutely steamrolled Brumbies when they had chances, but there were just too many little errors. Players not quite in the right place at the right time at the moment.
Alan's into his rugby. We'll get to him in a second. I notice Owen Farrell's in the squad, but he's on the bench. Could he lay claim to the number 12 shirt and come the big games as well, Alex? Might he force his way in?
I don't think he'd be in that 12 or 13, no. I think they're going to go either with Bundyaki, Gary Ringrose, or Sione Tuipulotu or Hugh Jones. They will be my two combinations that I'd either just go one or the other. What Owen is coming to do, his experience, he's the only player in that whole squad that has been and won a Lions series, knows what it takes. It was a bit of a strange one for me, but I think in terms of, if you look at it from the outside, his leadership is second to none. And it would just be the little conversations that he has with certain players within the squad, I think will be absolutely beneficial. Whether he gets into that 23 squad team, not too sure.
I mean, these squads, Alex, it kind of evolves, doesn't it, the British Lions? You have these smaller games and it starts to build and build and build. I mean, do you genuinely think that we'll win this series? Do you think we're going to, be ready? As you say, the mistakes in the last games, with so many sort of errors. Do you think he's going to get it all together in time?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Obviously, this is the last one this weekend. A lot of the team now, obviously the team's named on Saturday. They'll be still training now, together, especially the front five that I think they're probably going to play together. Finn Russell, obviously, they'll be still training behind, closed doors, obviously, with these lads preparing for the weekend. So they still be trying to click together. I do think we've got too much power for them. I think if we look at the driving line out and our scrum is so strong, and that's Australia's weaknesses, and I think we need to play a little bit more direct, not maybe play with the ball as much as Australia probably want us to do, because they can just come at line speed. That's when you get the error count, then you get the ill discipline added up. As soon as you get the amount of errors and penalties above 20, you're struggling to win a game. So they can really nullify, maybe less passes, be more direct. We've got big physical pack. Let's just steamroll these Aussies, and that's what worked when we beat them in 2013. And most of the time when you play Australia.
Alex, just give us a player's perspective, because it's a long build-up, isn't it, to the first test? 4 wins so far, 1 more warm-up game to come, as you say. If you're in that camp now, are you just counting down to the first test?
Yeah, I get. Obviously, you've got your last opportunity this weekend with those players. The other ones would just be literally ticking over in terms of just preparing for one of the most intensifying weeks that you ever probably be in as a rugby player, once that test week starts, it just ramps right up. Whether it's the media, the training will probably ramp up early on and then teeter off at the end of the week, making sure that the boys are real ready, because Brisbane is a tough place to play. And I think if you look at Australia's record in Brisbane, it's very, very good. So if you can win that first test, it puts you in such a good driving seat going obviously into Melbourne and obviously to Sydney. You lose that first thing, the whole narrative changes, doesn't it? The pressure absolutely piles on the Lions. So Andy Farrell will be really looking to probably nail down his team probably after this weekend, and then all it will be about is that first 20 minutes, especially in that first test.
Do you think we're going to see Marcus Smith get the nod come the tests, Alex?
I'd have him in my 23, Jim. I think I thought he played well last weekend. He just offers something different, in terms of his all-round game, his speed, his hitch kicks. He can kick for a goal. Obviously, we lost Elliot Daly, who for me would have been probably in that 23, and I think Marcus Smith is that next man in. But like I said, with Owen Farrell back in, that could be a little bit of a battle. Who gets that, maybe that 23 shirt. It would be Marcus Smith or Owen Farrell with his experience. So, yeah, still a lot of interesting calls for Andy Farrell to make. And I don't think he is 100% firm on his squad, which, looking in the past Lions tour, you could probably say 100% what the team was a week out from the first test.
Yeah, I played rugby at school, Alan. We lost 76-0 to Edinburgh Academy, so you get a rough idea of what I was like as a rugby player. And so with my limited knowledge, Alex Cuthbert, I'm saying we whitewash the Aussies. In all 3 games, the Lions win. Do you go with me?
I don't think we'll whitewash them, Jim, no. I do think the Aussies have a game. What the Aussies are so good at doing, I know if you remember, they just stay in the game. And I think with the Lions making so many errors, and hopefully they are prepared for it, in terms of the first test, they're just so good. They've got a good knack of just staying in games and maybe sneaking one at the end. But I think we win the first test, we will steamroll them, yeah.
And I noticed with the Aussies, James O'Connor, after being out of the picture for 3 years, is somehow back in there.
Oh, that's unbelievable. It makes me think, have I got a chance again? But,
exactly.
I played him in 2012 back in Cardiff when he was, a little bit older than me, but it's some I guess, accomplishment to come back from, playing. Obviously played with the Crusaders in New Zealand, had a pretty good stint, couple of injuries. That's all it takes. It changes so quickly in this game, and him coming back in with a bit like Owen Farrell, that experience back in the squad is only going to do that squad a world of good.
Brilliant. He could be a history maker, O'Connor. I hope he's not, but we shall see. Alex, what do you think then? Tomorrow, the Invitational. Yeah. The Lions will carry on where they left off in the last game against the Brumbies. And then the big one. What do you think for the first test? What are we going to see?
I think we're going to see some physicality, Jim. I think it's that first 20 minutes, they are going to absolutely smash the hell out of each other. It'll be one of those sort of games where, the first sort of boxing match, when they sort of feel each other out, maybe a bit of kick tennis, and then it will just unload then. I think Lions have to use their physicality against the Aussies. This game this weekend, the Invitational team, there's some big boys coming from New Zealand to play. They're going to look to just smash the Lions up, as much as possible. They've been together less than the Lions, so I expect a pretty good win this weekend. And then obviously it'll set us up lovely for the first test, and hopefully we take it to them, like Campese said. Apparently we're weak, so we'll find out, won't we?
Oh, we'd love to stick it on them for him alone. Where are you broadcasting from, Mr. Cuthbert? You're enjoying the Friday afternoon sunshine.
Yes, I'm actually in the car, mate, and I've got some people in the house doing some work, kids flying around, so I think it would have been a bit of a miss, having kids running around at the back. So I'm sat in the car absolutely sweating, I'll be honest.
You're a top man. Alex Cuthbert, as always, thank you so much.
Cheers, Alex.
Former British and Irish Lion. It's always good to speak to somebody who has been there, done it.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what's involved. I mean, these guys, Alan, they knock each other over big time, don't they?
I've been to a few rugby squads and watched them train, and the intensity that they train at is very similar to how they play. You know, it's not like when we do sessions as footballers, it's like 80%. These guys have to go full at it for it to warrant what's going to happen on a Saturday.
Yeah,
and of course you get injuries, and that will all play a part. But the one thing about Australia is, and I must have managed 20 odd Australian players over the years. Their mentality is always the same. It's full on their mentality. And that's what gets them over the line, particularly in like rugby games. And that's the fear that I would have for this, being in Australia. Just purely their mentality might be enough for them.
Go on the Lions. They're up against the Australia New Zealand combined 15 tomorrow, live and exclusive on talkSPORT. Let's head back down the road to Lords, bathed in sunshine. Sam Ellard, what are you telling us?
I'm telling you that England are 311 for 7. An action-packed morning on day 2. Brilliant Bumrah, the best bowler in the world, bowling Stokes for 44 before dismissing Root for 104, and then he got Wokes for a golden duck in consecutive balls. Jamie Smith, who's at the crease, unbeaten on 35. He was dropped by K. Royal on 5. He tried to cut a short ball through the offside, took the outside edge. It did go to Royal quickly at second slip, but really should have taken the catch. You think that could be a costly miss for India. Bryden Cast has 13 to his name. The first ball of the day was hit to the boundary by Joe Root to complete his 37th Test century. We've just had a pretty ridiculous 10-minute stoppage of play during the drinks break. India wanted the new ball changed after 10.3 overs. They got their wish, and then the India captain Shubman Gill spent the last half an hour complaining that the new ball he wanted wasn't exactly what he wanted. He thinks that the ball is older than what it should have been. So we've had a little bit of a stoppage, Jim, but Smith's got 35, Cast has got 13. England looking to rebuild after losing 3 wickets in the first hour at 311 for 7.
I love that. Only in cricket. I'm sorry, this ball is too old. When we come back, the movers and shakers in the world of transfers. Madueke, Chelsea to Arsenal. Is it on? Alex will tell us more. Stay with us. It's Jim White, Alex Crook and Alan Pardew live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Yeah, the Club World Cup final on Sunday is live in talkSPORT. Chelsea against Paris Saint-Germain. Will it be Madueke's last game in a Chelsea shirt? Because it's being reported that Arsenal have agreed a £52 million fee for Noni Madueke. We'll get into the reaction of some of the Arsenal fans to that news in a second. But Alex Crook is sitting alongside myself and Alan Pardew. Alex, where were we at with it?
Well, yeah, late last night, a fee was agreed between the two clubs, verbally agreed, £52 million. As of this morning, Madueke hadn't been given formal permission to undergo his medical at Arsenal, but I guess that's because Chelsea are focusing on this big game in New York on Sunday. But it looks like it will happen now. He's agreed terms on a long-term contract. Madueke, it's a sizable transfer fee, isn't it, in a position that obviously a lot of Arsenal fans don't particularly feel like Arsenal need to strengthen, because he played more games on the right wing last year for Chelsea than he did on the left. I think it was 7 games from the left, 20-odd on the right. And obviously that's Bukayo Saka's main position. I don't think this necessarily ends Arsenal's pursuit of Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace. That one could well happen as well.
I mean, Alan, let me put some meat in the bones to this. As it stands, 4,300 so-called Arsenal fans have signed a petition calling for the club to, quote, do better as they close in on this signing of Noni Madueke. As Alex says, reportedly agreed personal terms in a 5-year deal. But the same player is the subject of the hashtag No to Madueke petition on change.org, which, as I say, at this stage, just before 12:30 this Friday lunchtime, has been signed almost 4,300 times. Incidentally, are you an Arsenal fan who's saying no to Madueke? If so, why so? And are you prepared to come on and tell us why it's a no? 03717 223344. What's your take on it, Alan?
Well, I'm going to put my manager's hat on, right, and see and sort of try to give you a picture of how this might have happened. I'm guessing that his agent has been in touch with a transfer team at Arsenal and said, like, he would like to come to your football club. There is some interest, you know, and that the fee is possible. And therefore, that would have been put in front of the manager. And the manager must have looked at him, because I think Crookie will back me and say that there has been some disciplinary issues around him, right? Apart from his performances that have been a little bit in and out. He's shown potential. He's got an England cap, etc., etc. And the manager must have rubber stamped it and gone, yeah. Now, where he fits in that team, I don't know, personally. I would guess it's the left side of the front three as being his main role, which hasn't been his main role at Chelsea. So there are a lot of question marks. I don't think I'll be taking myself to the petition. I'm not that type.
Right.
But
you're not signing up.
I would suggest that it's not a transfer that I would have predicted in any shape or form, and certainly not the fee. I don't know about you, Crookie, but you know, it does seem a little bit high for where he is actually at.
Well, I mean, this baffles me. How so many Arsenal fans, reportedly 4,300 this lunchtime, have signed it. Hashtag no to Madueke. Ashley's an Arsenal fan who's dialed 03717 223344. Ashley, have you signed this thing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jim. No, I haven't. But I cannot believe where this has come from, this petition. Honestly, it's a joke. It really is honestly a joke. It just makes us even more of a big laughing stock as a football club. It really, really does. For a start, yes, we've paid whatever we've agreed to deal with Chelsea for Madueke, but what I can't get is the bloke hasn't even come yet and he hasn't been given a chance to kick a ball. And now all of a sudden there's a massive uproar with the signings because you've got the Gyökeres deal still, I don't know whether it's hanging in the balance or they're still saying that will it go ahead. And it's apparently, what I've heard is only about a few £1 million short of that deal going ahead. But you've got Eze's been cropped up. It's been linked a lot with Arsenal. I mean, if you could get him over the line, that would be a fantastic signing. It's just that when I look at Tottenham, they've acted. They paid the release clause for Morgan Gibbs-White, and Arsenal just can't seem to do this Eze deal.
Right.
But look,
it is only July the 11th. There's a long way to go until the season starts.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that. No, it is. I mean, it doesn't shut till September. But no, I agree that this petition thing, I mean, it's just absolute ridiculous. I mean, today as well, there's there's been graffiti graffitied down Hornsey Road where all these murals of the Arsenal players are, calling Arteta out. Someone mentioning the C word, which is not great. It doesn't bode well for the football club. You're talking Arsenal being one of the biggest clubs in the world. How's that helping? You know, it's not really doing us any good, is it? And I mean, you guys are, know your football as well. I mean, you don't want to see that.
I mean, before you go, Ashley, are you saying yes to Madueke?
He wasn't like the previous caller, whoever it was beforehand. Yes, I didn't see him being as one of our targets, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, we've been heavily linked with Rodrigo, but obviously it's happening. And you have to get behind him, like we all should as a football club. I know that people got an opinion, everyone's going to have their frustration and their moments where, why have we put all this money in getting this player? But you can see there's obviously Arteta's seen something that we might not. I don't think he's that bad of a player, if I'm being honest with you. He scored some good goals for Chelsea. He's very direct as well. He takes his players one-on-one. I know there's times where he might not been consistent enough, but you've got to look at there's a potential there. If he was 29 years old, Jim, and you paid over 50 million, I mean, people would go, well, that's a bad signing. But it's because the only positive I could say is he's 23, he's still raw, he's still young. There's obviously potential there. I don't think he's that bad of a player.
Yeah.
But if you're buying someone of that calibre or that young, what happens then? Who does he come in for?
Okay.
There's no chance he's going to get ahead of Bukayo Saka, is he?
All right. Well, Ashley, listen, thanks for the call and thanks for the many points that you've made within it. Alan, here's the thing. A club gets caned when it doesn't spend money.
Yeah.
And now Arsenal are prepared to spend 52 million to bring this guy in. And there's a petition up saying no.
Well, firstly, what part of his argument was Rodrigo may be coming. Now you're talking about a different level of player, in my opinion, that you're now coming to rather than Rodrigo. But the
Is
age,
that the source of their frustration, though? In order to kick on to the next level, they want that next level.
Of course. So that's my point. And I would also put Eze in that category as well. And so, that I'm pinching him just below that, but his age is that he can improve from that.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example of Zaha at Crystal Palace. When Zaha was 23, he was nothing like the player he was when I found him when he was 27, 28. Much more mature, knew his assets. There was still some flaws in his game, but he was a massively improved player from the player he was when he was 23. And that is what you're buying, and a lot of that finance is in that perhaps kind of category.
Right.
And the manager will be going, yes, I can get that out of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we go at 1 o'clock, hopefully we'll get the chance to go back to Alex for some more of the movers in the transfer world at this lunchtime. When we do come back the other side of 12:30, we'll talk tennis with brother of Andy, Jamie Murray.
Spurs are cooking up a storm this transfer window. After bagging West Ham winger Mohamed Kudus for £55 million, Tottenham have now managed to grab Morgan Gibbs-White after triggering his £60 million release clause. Former Spurs defender Raymond Vega reckons they could be setting themselves up for a good season.
The bigger mistake and the core mistake within Spurs within the last 4 to 5 years, what kind of player, what kind of transfer, and how early you can go into it. And I think now, I can see now, they learn from the past mistakes and they're really going in early stage. And it's great for the managers as well. I think for Frank, fantastic.
We understand Gibbs-White will complete his medical later. Former Forest striker Gary Birtles isn't too pleased with him, or Anthony Elanga, who just completed his move to Newcastle.
Those two were unbelievable for us last season, and I just hope they're thankful for what the football club and Nuno has done for them.
Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson to Brentford. That's what we're hearing. He's a free agent at the moment after leaving Ajax and is expected to complete his medical later. And it looks like Noni Madueke is moving from SW6 to N7. Arsenal have agreed to sign the Chelsea winger for £52 million. And will Ben Stokes last the day? That's the question England fans have as they head into day 2 of the third test against India at Lord's. talkSPORT will bring you ball-by-ball updates throughout the day.
Up to 30 degrees here in the southeast this afternoon. It is going to be super hot at Wimbledon. Of that, there is no doubt. It's certainly, in terms of the action, it's been hot since the word go Monday before last, and it doesn't really stop, does it? The men are in what could be an historic men's doubles final. Julian Cash and Lloyd Glasspool have made it. They're through. Could we have a winner there, ending a 65-year wait since 1960? 7 times major doubles champion, Davis Cup winner, and former doubles #1. Jamie Murray joins us live on the show this lunchtime. Jamie, good afternoon. What on earth is it like to play tennis in heat like this, mate?
It can be tough. I think. I think a lot of the players are used to playing in these sort of temperatures just because traditionally we tend to follow the sun, obviously, around the year. It can be very extreme, obviously, in Australia and the States with the humidity in the States in the summer is pretty tough. But it's not going to be easy for those guys to be out there for potentially 4 or 5 hours if need be. But it's not like I don't think they're getting caught off guard with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. And what chance do you give Cash and Glasspool?
I think they've got a great chance. I mean, they won at Queen's, they won in Eastbourne. Now they're in the final here. Like, they're on an unreal streak. They've been playing great tennis. They've been so dominant on serve, and I think they'll be pretty solid favourites going into the final tomorrow.
Alan, you'll be keeping across it, no doubt, but you'll be keeping across the men's singles semi-finals, and they are cracking, aren't they?
Yeah, they look like 2 great games. I mean, Jamie, I don't know where you sit on those, but Alcaraz and Sinner for me. But do you think that there could be an upset there in terms of the final?
I think that Djokovic has a great chance to beat Sinner personally. I think that I would say Sinner, of the 3 surfaces that they play on, I would say grass is probably his least favourite surface, I think. And I reckon Djokovic will fancy his chances today. I'm sure it'll be a an amazing match decided by 1 or 2 points here and there. I think Alcaraz will be favourite, obviously, to beat Fritz. I think he very rarely doesn't turn up in the big matches. I think he's more susceptible earlier in the tournament. But Fritz is a great player himself, got a great serve, big forehand, very competitive guy, really backs himself. So it's not going to be like a pushover or anything like that. I think, again, it'll be a very competitive match, but I just think Alcaraz has the edge.
And does it feel like it's Alcaraz's title to lose, bearing in mind the injury worries that maybe there are around Djokovic, even if he was to get through this semi-final? Would you make Alcaraz heavy favourite?
I think that Alcaraz is a decent favourite. I think he's better on grass than what Sinner is. But again, like Djoko, he's kind of gone under the radar this tournament. Who knows whether he's even played his best tennis yet? But I think for him, it doesn't really matter. I just think that these are the matches that he plays for these days, semi-finals, finals of Grand Slams, and he's so experienced in that, and I'm sure he'll be highly motivated to put on a great performance and show the younger guys that he's still the man to beat.
I don't know how he does it, Jamie. Djokovic.
Me neither.
He missed training, mate, at Wimbledon ahead of the semi-final against Sinner. And, of course, we saw what happened the other night. He did the splits after being wrong-footed by young Kaboli. And, the body, it must take a pounding. So many days into a tournament such as this. But not only that, after what he's done in what has been an incredible career.
Yeah, I mean, he won his 100th tournament just before French Open in Geneva. And, he's won 25 Grand Slams. So, 25% of his wins are Grand Slam titles, which is just insane. So, look, I think that, we're always, there's rarely a big tournament goes by, it seems, where, we're not interested in what he's doing with his body and his injuries that he's potentially got or not got. I'm hoping that he's obviously fully fit, and it'll be an amazing match today against Sinner.
I find him, Alan. I mean, Alan Pardew has worked with some top footballers in his time. When you look at a guy like Novak Djokovic and you think what he's achieved, Alan, and you think what he puts his body through, he's a phenomenon.
Yeah, he's your Ronaldo of the our equivalent would be Ronaldo in football.
Yeah,
he's that level, and when he steps on the court, he brings a certain presence to him. And when you watch him, and I've seen him a few times live, it's just he just kind of embraces the stadium. Do you know what I mean? You understand him, you know him. He's like a fixture of the scene, and obviously 25 Grand Slams, I think, is a record if he wins this one. I don't think he will, unfortunately, but certainly what an ambassador for the sport he's been. Brilliant.
Yeah. Jimmy, you were talking about Taylor Fritz. He knocks on the door, but he never seems to open it at the key moment. Deep in a tournament. Is this his time?
I don't think it's his time, no. But that's not me talking bad about Taylor Fritz. I just think Alcaraz is just another level above, and I just think he's there. If Alcaraz is locked in mentally and he's there to win, he will find a way to win that match, because I just think he just is that bit better player. But Fritz definitely has the weaponry and the capability to win that match. If Alcaraz is kind of a bit off, or maybe his focus isn't quite right, Fritz can get him. Fritz won't be scared to win that match. But ultimately, when you're playing these guys, these the best players in the world. Yeah. The latter stages over 5 sets, you have to be on it from first ball till last, and those guys won't give you a chance to drop your level. You have to be on it, and like I said, Alcaraz he very rarely doesn't turn up in these matches. So it'd be a big surprise if he were to lose today.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost like a carbon copy of Nadal in terms of that winning mentality, isn't he? Just to get it over the line, he just finds that extra something.
Yeah, and he's got he has that physicality, but also the shot making of a Federer in a way. I mean, he will be, I think, the dominant player in men's tennis for the next 10 years. I think Sinner will be right there with him, but for me, I just think Alcaraz has just a little bit more to his game that maybe kind of in those real big important moments will help him be that little bit ahead of the rest, I think.
Jamie, how would you reflect on the last couple of weeks from a British perspective? Emma Raducanu, difficult early exit for her, but played some good tennis in that match. Sonny Cartel, I think, surprised a few people how deep she went. Jack Draper, very disappointing for him to go out so early. How would you reflect on it?
Well, I'm sure Jack will be disappointed. I mean, he obviously had a tough draw in Cilic, and he kind of got bullied a bit at times in that match. But I mean, Cilic has won Grand Slams. He's been finals of Grand Slams as well. He's a serious operator. And I mean, Emma, obviously she got through a couple of rounds. She lost to Sabalenka, really, really close match. But I mean, obviously for the British public, who majority of them who watch tennis, they tune in these 2 weeks. They want to see British players in the second week having opportunities to win. Cam Norrie obviously had a good run to the quarterfinals. Like, he's really picked up his form the last kind of couple of months, I think, and starting to move his ranking in the right direction. But of course, we want as many players as possible competing at this level with a chance to go into the second week of the Slams. And we've obviously been very fortunate over the last 25 years that we had Tim Hinman top of the game with Greg Rosetsky, then they stopped and Andy came straight away, and then Andy was there for 15 years and now he stopped, and Jack's come on the scene straight away and is 5 in the world. He's having a crazy season, and he will be at the top of the game for a very long time. And we hope that he'll be a focal point of these Grand Slams deep in the tournaments, where he'll be competing with Alcaraz and Sinner and going toe-to-toe with them.
Yeah. Listen, Jamie, never mind about these people, Draper and Alcaraz and all that lot. What about 7 times major doubles champion Jamie Murray, Davis Cup winner Jamie Murray?
It was short and sweet, Jim. It was short and sweet for me this year.
Former doubles number 1 Jamie Murray. I mean, it was an early doubles exit and an early mixed doubles exit. But you're out there and you're doing it and you love it.
I still enjoy it, yeah. I mean, I still enjoy competing. I still enjoy the travelling, going to the tournaments. And, I still feel like I have good tennis in me and can compete at this level. And while I still feel that way and my ranking is high enough, I still want to do it. So.
And why not? Jamie, thank you, mate. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate having me on.
Really
Enjoy
appreciate
the matches
it.
Today.
Thanks ever so much. Jamie Murray with us there. Don't forget, the latest episode of talkSPORT Daily is available wherever you get your podcasts from. We are coming up to 1:45 this Friday lunchtime.
plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Jim White, Alex Crook, Alan Pardew. Hope you've been enjoying us for the last 3 hours. You had no choice, really, did you? Let's head down to Lords. We have no choice but to tune into Sam Ellard, but we like that. Sam.
What have we got? We've got 12 minutes left, Jim, until lunch. The first hour dominated by India, picking up 3 wickets to have England 271 for 7 and in a little bit of trouble. But the second hour of the morning session has been, so far anyway, gone to England. This is a very important 8th wicket partnership worth 66 runs. Jamie Smith carrying on his great form from the second test match, unbeaten on 41. Bryden Cast at 9, playing a really useful knock, not out on 28. He looked a little bit nervy and anxious when Bryden Cast first came to the crease, but settling into his innings now. Just saw a glorious drive through the covers of Akashdeep. Jamie Smith dropped on 5 early in his innings, trying to cut a short and wide ball, took the thick outside edge, went quickly to KR Rahul at second slip, who has caught well this series. It was dropped. You felt at the time that could have been a big and important drop for India, and well, Jamie Smith now going into lunch has 41 runs to his name. Bryden Castle's 28. England 339 for 7.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. We're going to finish on a football theme, of course, with transfers very much being the big talking point at the moment. There's Andy in Manchester. Jim, Alex Crook is sitting beside you. Yes, he is Andy in Manchester. Please ask him what is going on with him, Buemo. Are we getting this guy? It's getting ridiculous now.
It is getting ridiculous. I was told a couple of weeks ago that the Brentford expected a medical to take place, therefore they expected full agreement with Manchester United. Still we wait, either that or Brian Mbeumo has got ailments that we don't know about. But yeah, I can understand Manchester United fans' frustrations because they're seeing Liverpool breaking the British transfer record. They're seeing Manchester City replenish their squad, Arsenal getting busy, Tottenham, 2 big signings coming through the door, and Manchester United have still only signed Matheus Cunha, and it backs up the point Alan made earlier when we were talking about relegation odds. This team finished 15th last season. To get to mid-July with only 1 new face and 5 players training away from the first team that they're trying to get rid of, I feel for Ruben Amorim, to be honest. I do think Mbeumo will happen. Stay patient.
What happens in a situation like this, Alan, when for whatever reason Amorim has decided, right, those 5 need to find themselves a new club. Thus far, no news of a new club for any of them, and the clock's ticking. The likely outcome is what for the 5?
Well, the outcome for the 5 becomes very disruptive for the group because they're still in the same change room. They're still getting changed, with the group, so to speak. And then they're going separate ways. The 5 are going elsewhere to the gym or whatever with a sports science team or whoever coach is taking them. I actually did it at Reading for a little while under Tommy Burns. He isolated 5 players. And I had to take them on my own. It's very difficult to do a session with 5 players. You can imagine. It's like, you got to rack your brain to try and think something up. But the problem you have is that still causes upset in the group. There's sort of some camaraderie and some chit-chat and some fun around it. Oh, what are you 5 guys doing? What, are you going down the cafe? Are you going to the pub? What are you doing? There's kind of that going on.
Yeah.
But it's still disruptive. Some of the players will be siding with the 5. Don't think it's right. don't think it's right that they should be training on their own. So you got all that kind of going back to the manager. Amorim's having to deal with that.
Yeah.
He's never had that experience before. He's never had to do that at Sporting Lisbon. This wouldn't have happened there. So it's a whole kind of weird scenario. And the sooner they move, but of course, as I made the point earlier, you are devaluing them players by doing that, and therefore this fire sale of what they're going to sell for or loan, as we're talking about with Rashford, there might be even a situation where he goes on loan again somewhere.
And on Rashford, apart from having a massively spectacular and impressive bank balance, where is he at in his football career?
Well, personally, I still think, as a talent, obviously at Aston Villa, I thought he improved significantly his defensive work, which is a massive problem with him. His defensive work, he switches off, he loses concentration. His offensive work is very, very good. When he comes off that left side and he's trying to work it onto his right foot, you almost have to overcompensate as a defender, because he wants a right foot shot. But then he'll go down the outside and cross, not particularly with consistency with his left foot, but he can, and he can shoot with his left foot pretty well. So he's a real problem player for the opposition. Therefore, he has a value. And he's finished at United. There's no doubt about that. The water under the bridge is too much.
They're giving his number away.
Of course. So, this guy is desirable, but it looks to me, and I don't know how Crookie agrees, but it looks like Barcelona behind the scenes have done the deal, and it's just a question of what it's going to be.
Do you think it's done, Alex?
I think it's getting that way. Obviously, they were keen on Nico Williams, but he signed a new contract at Athletic Bilbao. There's been talk of Diaz at Liverpool, but I'm told Liverpool have no interest at all in trading him. So they're looking for someone who can play on that left-hand side, who can play through the middle as well. They admire his versatility. He's made it pretty clear, I'm told, to Manchester United that Barcelona really is the only club in his mind at this moment in time. I don't think, ideally, he would do what he did last year and join another Premier League team on loan, because you're just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
But Barcelona aren't going to come in and pay Manchester United's £40 million asking price for the reasons that Alan's alluded to, because they know, and everybody knows, that he's not got a future, certainly all the time that Ruben Amorim is there. When you take his squad number away, that looks like a club decision as much as the manager's decision.
Yeah.
So I think it's most likely to be a loan, and United will have to contribute towards his salary.
Alan, I want to finish today, one of your former clubs, Newcastle United. Anthony Elanga in there. If Isak does stay, and it looks likely that he will, and you've got Anthony Gordon on the other side, what are you looking at there? Is it Elanga? Does that signing represent next level recruitment?
Well, Elanga for me was the fastest player I see last year with the ball at his feet. I mean, he is rapid. And Eddie Howe, the way he sets up, and he sets up differently, Eddie, to home and away. When he sets up away, he's very much a counter-attacking team. And he will be massive armoury because of his pace. So I think Newcastle are sitting pretty with the squad they've got. I think they've got the best free central midfield players as a group in the country, bar Liverpool maybe. So, they're up there and they will be competing for the title this year. I genuinely think that. I predicted they'd get Champions League at the start of last year. They got that. And I think minimum for them, Champions League.
And you think serious title competitors?
With the striker they got, he's only getting better, Isaac. They've got him obviously for another year. They have got obviously the Champions League campaign to navigate, which will be a pressure on them because the group still looks like it needs bolstering.
Yeah.
And whether they do some more signings, I don't know. But Elanga for me, significant first 11 player. And will take the team forward.
They want players in, but James Trafford, if they can get him as a new goalkeeper. Yeah. They want another centre back because obviously Botman's had a fair few injury issues, and they do need another number 9 because Callum Wilson turned down the pay-as-you-play contract. And the one issue with Isak, and I agree with you, I think he's probably the best forward in the country along with Mo Salah at this moment in time.
Yeah,
he does get injuries, so they do need cover in that area.
Definitely. Yep.
Alex, thank you very much. Alan Pardew, brilliant as always. I want you to do this for me. Before we go today, we'll speak about another of your former clubs, Reading. If anyone ever doubts the size and the scale of Celtic, Alan told me something this morning about Tommy Burns when he got the job there.
Yeah.
Just want to tell this, for all Celtic fans listening this lunchtime, listen up to Alan.
Yeah, well, when Tommy come to the football club...
The late Tommy Burns,
of course, bless.
Lovely man.
he arrived, and obviously I knew Tommy Burns. I was the reserve team manager at the time. I was the only coach kept on, and so therefore when he arrived, he made a presence about him, a very powerful man in terms of his presence. But what we didn't realise was that the following that he had at Celtic, and we just kept getting sackfuls of messages from Celtic fans, emblems, all kinds of sort of majestic stuff from the past, all signed, all wanting Tommy to do well at this club. And I remember the secretary coming to me going, "How the hell am I meant to reply to all this information? Help, help, help!" It was a bit of a cry for help. But Tommy's, the love that Celtic fans had for Tommy was unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it.
Lovely, Alan. Thank you for that. Tommy Burns, what a wonderful man he was. Alan, thank you for today. Alex Andrew, Ollie Klink and Annie Jacobs are on the way. Good luck on Sunday night to Chelsea. Think you're going to need it.